अस्सलाम वालेकुम उजाला।
जी मैम।
हाँ उजाला, सर की तस्वीर चेक करनी है आपने। ऑन करो और देखो कि सर की वो आ रही है, वीडियो आ रही है।
एक मिनट मैम।
सर
मैम सर वहां से अपना अनम्यूट होंगे और कैमरा ऑन करना पड़ेगा उनको।
सर आपको उजाला नजर आ रही?
हैं?
सर आपको
बस।
उजाला नजर आ रही?
हाँ, नजर आ रही है। मैंने तो अनम्यूट कर दिया अपने को।
हाँ सर, अब ऊपर एक वीडियो का ऑप्शन आ रहा होगा, उस पे भी
हाँ।
क्लिक कर दे तो आपकी वीडियो भी आना शुरू हो जाएगी।
हाँ, बोलो, आ गया।
एक मिनट सर, अभी
हेलो।
नहीं आया।
नहीं सर, आपकी तस्वीर नहीं आ रही।
तो तस्वीर के लिए क्या करें? अब आ रही है?
सर नो सर, आपका नाम आईफोन का लिखा हुआ आ रहा है स्क्रीन
ये
पे।
सर आईफोन का लिखा हुआ आ रहा
तो
है।
मैं तो सामने बैठा हूँ यार।
सर
अब
वहां पे कैमरा बना होता है, वीडियो देखें, ऑप्शन आ रहा होगा, उस पर
नहीं
क्लिक
तो
करें।
वीडियो तो दबाया मैंने यार।
मैम सर का नाम मैंने चेंज कर दिया है। और
उजाला तुम गाइड करो
सर
सर को।
आपके पास एक ऑप्शन आया होगा, आस्क टू स्टार्ट वीडियो, उस पे क्लिक कर दें। यस।
क्या आया है उधर?
सर ऊपर जहाँ नीचे ना म्यूट का ऑप्शन है, उसके बराबर में वीडियो का ऑप्शन होगा।
हम्म, देखो, मैं देखता हूँ। अब
जी
अब आ
सर
रहा
आ
है?
गया। जी
जी
सर।
सर आप।
जी सर।
अच्छा, तो मुझे ऐसे ही बैठना पड़ेगा, ऐसे बैठा हूँ। हम्म,
सर थोड़ा
जी
सा
सर।
अपना कैमरा और नीचे कर लें।
अब
जी सर।
सब सही है?
जी सर।
तो मुझे जब पढ़ूंगा मैं, तो ये
जी।
सही है, इस तरह से सही आएगा।
जी सर।
चलिए,
सर अभी थोड़ी देर में अनाउंसमेंट होगी, तो उसके बाद आपको
कोई
बोला
बात नहीं,
जाएगा, तो फिर आप बोलिएगा।
कोई बात नहीं।
थैंक यू सर।
मेरा फ्रेम व्रेम सही है बिल्कुल?
जी सर,
है?
बिल्कुल सही है।
कितने, 20 मिनट है मेरे पास? 25 मिनट है, और कोई सवाल जवाब भी है क्या?
सर 20 मिनट है। अगर किसी के कोई कमेंट्स हुए तो हम ले लेंगे, और सवाल भी हो तो वो भी ले लेंगे।
ठीक। और तो वजह तुम्हारे क्या हाल है?
अल्लाह का शुक्र सर, आप बताएं।
बहुत गुजारा है। आप सुनाइए, क्या हो रहा है, कैसा चल रहा है? आवाज मेरी सही आ रही है?
जी
आवाज मेरी
सर।
सही आ रही है?
जी सर।
मुझे ज्यादा जोर से तो नहीं बोलना है, या यही वॉल्यूम सही है?
नहीं सर, सही है, आवाज आ रही है।
गौर ताज साहिबा भी मौजूद है।
अस्सलाम सर।
वालेकुम सलाम। क्या हो रहा है?
कॉन्फ्रेंस की बस तैयारी।
तो ये हमें पता चल जाएगा कि टोटल कितने लोग रहे इसमें?
जी सर, पता चल जाएगा।
बल्कि उजाला, जो यूट्यूब पे भी क्वेश्चंस आएंगे और जितने लोगों ने वॉच किया होगा व्यूज, वो सर को बता देना, आज का भी और
जी
कल।
मैम।
ठीक है।
ठीक है मैम।
अच्छा, डॉक्टर सेवरीन को आपने लिंक भेज दिया है ना?
जी मैम, मेरी रात में उनसे बात हुई है, वो हो जाएंगी थोड़ी देर में अभी ऑनलाइन।
उजाला, आपकी आवाज इको हो रही है, इसका मतलब कहीं और खुला हुआ है।
एक मिनट।
चला आई थिंक स्टार्ट कर देते बिकॉज इंटरनेशनल पार्टिसिपेंट्स आर ऑल्सो हियर.
Yes, ma'am. Farah will start in a minute.
Conference of Women Empowerment with the aim to celebrate survivors and women's stories. The fundamental aim is to create a platform that not only recognizes these roles, but also empowers and amplifies the impact of women in these diverse arenas. The primary objectives of this conference is to convene a platform for an in-depth discussions concerning the barriers, opportunities women encounter in their pursuit of holistic well-being. Throughout this event, we will be graced by the presence of eminent experts, survivors, and legends who will be sharing their expertise through plenary talks, success stories, and remarkable work. Without further ado, let's embark on this exciting journey of exploration and discovery. I would like to invite Dr. Shersha Sayed. Dr. Shersha Sayed, the president of Pakistan National Forum on Women Health and Kohinoor Women Hospital, is the biggest strength of this entire project. His experience and a long history of treating women with obstetric fistula is not only limited to Pakistan, he has performed countless surgeries all over the world. His passion to help give rise to a healthier nation brought him back to the country where he engaged in providing full-time services to Kohinoor Women Hospital. Under his leadership, Kohinoor Women Hospital has caught the attention of several internationally renowned surgeons that often visit the facility and perform surgeries completely free of cost. It is my honor to invite him to initiate this event and give a little introduction about the conference. Sir, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Farah. And it's now eighth conference, and every year when we organize it, the main purpose is usually to create awareness about the issues which we are concerned. As you mentioned, from the women right violation as a fistula to the women right issues in the society. तो ये तो बेसिक बात हो गई. अब आज जो आपने इस कॉन्फ्रेंस का आगाज किया है, उसमें जो मुझे मौजू दिया है कि औरतों की कहानियों को सुनना क्यों जरूरी है, तो इस सिलसिले में मैं ये अर्ज करना चाहूँगा कि किसी भी समाज को अगर समझना है तो समाज को समझने के लिए औरतों को समझना ज़रूरी है, और औरतों को समझने के लिए औरतों की कहानियाँ सुनना ज़रूरी है. उन कहानियों से हमें अंदाज़ा होता है कि इस समाज में किसी भी औरत के क्या समाजी हकूक़ हैं, उसको कितनी आज़ादी मुयस्सर है, उसके तिब्बी और समाजी मसाइल के हल के लिए क्या किया जाता है, उसको समाज में हैसियत कितनी मिली हुई है, उस पर तशद्दुद कितना होता है, और उसको काम और तालीम और दूसरे मसाइल में मर्दों के साथ कितने मसावी हकूक़ मुयस्सर हैं. और जब हम ये कहानी पढ़ते हैं, सुनते हैं, तो हमें पता लगता है कि औरतें अभी तक उन्हीं मसाइल में घिरी हुई हैं जो शायद 5000 साल पुरानी औरतों को भी नहीं था. शायद वो हमसे इनसे ज़्यादा आज़ाद थी. जब डॉक्टर सदफ ने मुझे कहा ये कॉन्फ्रेंस हो रही है, तो मैंने सोचा कि मेरी जो नई किताब है उस किताब में कुछ औरतों की कहानियां हैं. तो इतना वक्त तो नहीं है कि मैं पूरी कहानियां पढ़ सकूं. मैं चाहूँगा कि एक दो या तीन कहानियों के मुख्तसरन आपको बताऊं कि वो कहानियां हैं क्या, और उससे आपको अंदाज़ा होगा कि औरतें कहाँ तक, अभी हमारे मुल्क में औरतें अभी तक किन मसाइल में छुपी हुई हैं. इसमें एक कहानी है घुमंडी. घुमंडी पंजाब की एक लड़की की कहानी है जो स्कूल जाती है अपनी सहेलियों के साथ रोज खेतों को फलांगते हुए और पगडंडियों से गुजरते हुए. लेकिन जब वो 8वीं 9वीं क्लास में होती है, 8वीं क्लास में होती है, तो जमींदार जो बहुत बड़ा जागीरदार है, उसके बेटे की नज़र उस पर पड़ जाती है और वो उसको रास्ते में उससे छेड़खानी करता है, जिस पर वो लड़की उसको डांटती है, अपनी सहेलियों के साथ जारी होती है, डांटती है। तो वो उसको मजाक समझता है, फिर किसी दिन दोबारा कभी साइकिल पर कभी स्कूटर पर आके उसको तंग करता है। फिर एक दिन ऐसा होता है कि उसके साथ वो उसको रास्ते में पकड़ कर के अपने तो गले से लगाने की कोशिश करता है, जिस पर वो लड़की उस पर बहुत नाराज होती है और उसको उसके मुंह पर थूक देती है। लेकिन ये बात उसको बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं आती है और एक दिन वो क्या करता है कि दूसरी लड़कियों की मौजूदगी में असगर कुछ ज्यादा ना कह सका और ना कर सका, लेकिन ये जरूर कहा कि मैं तुम्हारा सारा घुमंड तोड़ दूंगा, घुमंडी तो समझती क्या है अपने आप को, सारी जिंदगी पछताएगी, मुझे जानती नहीं है, वगैरह वगैरह। उस वक्त भी फातिमा ने अपने घर वालों को कुछ नहीं बताया, इस खौफ से कि स्कूल छूट जाएगा, उसे ही बुरा भला कहा जाएगा। हमारे समाज में यही होता है, माएँ अपने बच्चों को यही सिखाती हैं, ऐसे ही परवान चढ़ाती हैं, उन्हें इसी तरह से बड़ा करती हैं। खानदान का डर, समाज का डर, शोहर का डर, यही उनकी जिंदगी होती है। वो अपने ऊपर होने वाले जुल्म का जिक्र नहीं करती हैं। फिर उसने उसका घुमंड तोड़ दिया। ये सब कुछ बहुत जल्दी हुआ था। अपने 3 दोस्तों के साथ स्कूल से वापसी में नदी के फौरन बाद जहाँ उसकी जमीन शुरू होती थी, झपटा मारकर उसे उठाकर ले गए थे और झाड़ियों में पकड़कर असगर ने उसका बलात्कार किया, उसकी छातियों को नोचा, उसके मुंह पर थूका, उसके जिस्म को झंझोड़ा और उसने उसे बुरी तरह से पामाल किया। उसके दोस्त देख देख कर हंसते रहे। जी हाँ घुमंडी, अपने बाप को जाकर बताना ये सब कुछ मैंने किया है। अब जब ये सब कुछ हो जाता है तो उसके बाद ये लड़की स्कूल जाना छोड़ देती है और घर में बिल्कुल महफूज हो जाती है, ना अपने माँ बाप को बताती है। उससे सिर्फ यही फिक्र होती है कि वो प्रेग्नेंट तो नहीं हो गई है। जब उसकी माहवारी आ जाती है और प्रेग्नेंट नहीं होती है तो बस वो अपनी जिंदगी खामोशी से गुजारने की कोशिश करती है। फिर क्योंकि ये जागीरदार का बेटा होता है तो इलाके मोहल्ले के इमाम साहब और जागीरदार साहब मिल मिला करके उसके माँ बाप को कह करके उसकी शादी करा देते हैं और शादी करने के बाद वो अपने घर चली जाती है। तो इस किताब में आखिरी कुछ हिस्सा इस तरह से है कि अ, मैं डॉक्टर हूँ, यहाँ पर कोई तकलीफ कोई बीमारी हो तो मुझे बताना। मैंने दोबारा से कहा था, नहीं डॉक्टर कोई तकलीफ नहीं है, सब अच्छा है, जैसा जेल में होता है, मुझे कोई बीमारी नहीं है, मुझे बस बच्चे याद आते हैं, लेकिन कोई बात नहीं है, मेरा आदमी अच्छा आदमी है, वो उनका ख्याल रखेगा। उसने आस्ता आस्ता मेरे जवाब में कहा था, मैं जेलों को कह दूंगा जब भी तुम्हारे बच्चे आएंगे तुम्हें ज्यादा वक्त दिया जाए। जेलर अच्छा आदमी है, मैंने उसे यकीन दहानी कराई थी। सर कत्ल का मुकदमा है, आप जानते हैं, अब जिंदगी शायद जेल में ही गुजारनी पड़ जाए या फिर फांसी के फंदे से लटकना पड़ेगा। उसने बड़े बड़े सुकून से मेरी तरफ देखते हुए कहा था। मैंने उसे हैरत से देखा, कत्ल का मुलजिम वो भी एक औरत, तो मैंने कभी भी इतना पुरसुकून नहीं देखा था। उस वक्त मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगी थी। मैंने दिल में उसकी खुद एतमादी और बात करने के अंदाज से बहुत मुतासिर हुआ। तुमने कत्ल क्यों किया था? ना चाहते हुए भी मैं सवाल करने से अपने आप को नहीं रोक सका था। ये तो एक न दिन होना ही था, मैं उसे भूली नहीं थी। न वो दिन जब उसने मेरा बलात्कार किया था, ना उसका जुमला, घुमंड निकाल दूंगा घुमंडी, अपने बाप को कहना ये मैंने किया है, ये सब कुछ कहकर उसने मुंह पर थूक दिया था। उसका लफ्ज मेरे दिमाग से नहीं निकला, उसके थूक के छींटे मेरे चेहरे पर जम गए। उसने मुझे घुमंडी कहा था, सही कहा था। उसने उसी लहजे में मेरी तरफ देखते हुए जवाब दिया था। मैंने देखा उसके चेहरे पर एक इत्मीनान का बादल सा छा गया था। उस दिन उसके शौहर ने उसे बताया कि घर पे मेहमान आ रहे हैं, वो जल्दी में होंगे, चाय पी के चले जाएंगे। उसने मेहमान के आने से पहले सारी तैयारी कर ली थी, समोसे, छोले, दही बड़े, पकोड़े बनाकर तैयार कर लिए थे। फिर मेहमान भी आए। मेहमान के आने के बाद उसने दरवाजे की झुर्री से देखा तो फिर उसके अख्तियार में कुछ नहीं रहा था। वो अपने कमरे में गई, अलमारी से शौहर की गोलियां भरी पिस्तौल निकाली और दरवाजा खोलकर उसके सीने में 3 गोलियां उतार दी थी। उसका शौहर देखते ही रह गया था। असगर सुन चेहरे से उसे देखता हुआ जमीन पर गिर गया था। उसके करीब गई, जोर से पुकारा था, पहचान लिया मुझे? मैं वही हूँ, घुमंडी। ये कहकर उसने मेरी तरफ देखा, फिर बोली थी, डॉक्टर साहब देख लो मेरे चेहरे पर जमा हुआ थूक बह गया है ना। तो ये एक छोटी सी कहानी थी जो हमारे समाज में हर वक्त होती रहती है। लड़कियों को इसी तरह से ट्रीट किया जाता है, और और करने वाले खामोशी से नहीं बोल के जोर जबर से आजाद घूमते रहते हैं। कितना वक्त है सदफ?
सर अभी आपके पास टाइम है, 10 मिनट और है।
तो इसमें एक कहानी और है, इसका नाम है जूता। तो मैं पानी पढ़ता हूँ। 15 दिन में उनके कब्जे में रही थी। 3 आदमियों ने बारी बारी कई दफा मुझे पामाल किया, मेरी इज्जत लूटी, मुझे मारा, भंभोड़ा, नोचा, जख्म लगाए, और जब मैं बिल्कुल ही बेजान हो गई तो मुझे फेंक कर चले गए। वो तो ये समझी थी कि मैं मर गई। मेरी जैसी न जाने कितनी लड़कियों के साथ यही हुआ है। जब सरहदें टूट जाती हैं, जब जंगें जात, नस्ल, मजहब और एतकाद की बुनियाद पर होती हैं, तो यही होता है। तो ये एक कोसोवो की लड़की की कहानी है, और शुरू हुई इस कहानी से शुरू करती है, और इससे अंदाजा हो गया होगा कि अब उसके साथ हुआ क्या है। लेकिन इसका मैं आखिरी पैराग्राफ आपको पढ़ के सुनाता हूँ, उससे आपको पता चल जाएगा कि इस कहानी का नाम जूता क्यों है। लो काफी पियो, उसने आस्था से कहा था। मैंने मग्गा हाथ में लेकर काफी को सूंघा था, तो जिसकी खुशबू मुझे बहुत अच्छी लगी थी। उसने बिस्किट की तश्तरी उठाकर मुझे दी थी। मैं काफी का मग होठों से लगाया ही था कि उसकी आवाज आई थी। कोसोवो मेरा शहर है, मट्रोविच नाम का। मैं वही के रहने वाली हूँ। वहाँ एक मस्जिद है, बिजराम पाशा ईसा बेग मस्जिद। ये मस्जिद ईसा पाशा बोस्तानी नाम की मस्जिद के उजड़ने के बाद इसी जगह पर कोसोवो की जंग के बाद बनाई गई है। अब ये बहुत खूबसूरत है, बहुत बड़ी मस्जिद है। लेकिन इस बड़ी मस्जिद के बनने से पहले ईसा पाशा मस्जिद के साय में मैं अपनी माँ के साथ बैठी हुई थी, और पापा अंदर नमाज पढ़ने के लिए गए हुए थे। यही वक्त था जब सर्बिया के सिपाहियों ने हमला करके सारे नमाजियों को कत्ल कर दिया था। मुझे अगवा करके ले गए थे। सब सिपाहियों ने 15 दिन तक मुझे पामाल किया, मेरा बलात्कार किया, और जब मैं बिल्कुल ही बेजान हो गई तो मुझे मुर्दा समझकर किसी गली में फेंक कर चले गए। मेरी माँ का कुछ पता नहीं चला, न जाने उनके साथ क्या हुआ होगा। ये कहते हुए उसकी आंखों में आंसू आ गए थे। काफी का मग मेरे हाथ में था। मैं गंग उसे देख रहा था। मैंने आस्था से काफी का मग मेज पर रखते हुए सूखे कीचड़ आलूद जूते के साथ रख दिया था। न जाने में कैसे बच गई। मेरा एक भाई जो घर पे था, उसने मुझे सहारा दिया। फिर आस्ता आस्ता मैं दुनिया में वापस आ गई, उस दुनिया में जहाँ मुझे लूटा गया था, मुझे पामाल किया गया, मुझे रोंदा गया। न जाने मैं कैसे इस जगह से वापस आई हूँ। वो आंसुओं को रोकने की कोशिश कर रही थी, मगर वो रुक नहीं रहे थे, वो खामोश हो गई। 8 महीनों के बाद एक इज्तिमाई कब्र में मेरे अबू की लाश मिली थी। उनका जिस्म खत्म हो चुका था। हड्डियों के ढांचे में उनके दोनों पैरों पर जूते चढ़े हुए थे। उनके जूतों की वजह से उन्हें पहचाना गया। ये एक जूता मेरे पास है, दूसरा मेरे भाई के पास। उस कीचड़ मट्टी में वो अपने जूते के साथ दफन थे। ये जूता नहीं है, मेरे अब्बू हैं, यही मेरे पास रहते हैं। उसकी आंखों से निकलने वाले मोटे मोटे कतरे उसके गालों पर बह रहे थे। मैं खड़ा हो गया, अपने हाथ बढ़ाकर उस जूते को उठा लिया था, उसे सीने से लगाया, फिर अपने होठों से चूमा। वो जूता नहीं था, एक शहीद की यादगार थी। मेरे आंखों से भी आंसू बारिश की तरह बरस रहे थे। अब मुसीबत ये है कि ये जो जंगें होती हैं, इन तमाम जंगों में सबसे ज्यादा जो बर्बादी होती है वो औरतों की होती है। इनके अभी जो फलस्तीन में जो कुछ हो रहा है, इन लड़कियों के भाई, इनके शौहर, इनके बेटे, इनके वालिद, उनका वो मरते हैं। और इन इन मरने वालों के साथ तो जो मरते हैं वो तो होते ही है, लेकिन औरतों के साथ दूसरी ज्यादती होती है कि उनको एक हथियार की तरह इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। उनका रेप किया जाता है, उन पर तशद्दुद किया जाता है, उन्हें अगवा कर लिया जाता है। और और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में उनके साथ जो होता है वो हम सबको पता ही है। तो ये दो कहानियां हैं। इसके अलावा एक कहानी और है जिसका बहुत ही मुख्तसर सा मैं बता देता हूँ। ये कहानी है अ, फिजी की तवाइफ की। फिजी आइलैंड एक छोटा सा आइलैंड है ऑस्ट्रेलिया और न्यूजीलैंड के दरमियान में। और जिस वक्त अंग्रेज हिंदुस्तान की हुकूमत कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने हिंदुस्तान से बेशुमार लोग यूपी, बिहार और पंजाब से उनको जेलों से छुड़वा करके, कातिलों को पकड़ करके वहाँ ले गए थे कि आपको वहाँ आज़ादी मिल जाएगी। जब ये लोग वहाँ चले गए तो वहाँ पर इनको ज़मीनों पर इनसे काश्तकारी कराई गई। और बहुत जल्दी अंग्रेज़ों ने इस बात को रियलाइज़ किया कि ये मर्द तो आ गए पूरे हिंदुस्तान से, लेकिन यहाँ औरतें नहीं हैं। तो उसका तरीका इन्होंने ये निकाला कि दोबारा से एक हिंदुस्तान में मुहिम चलाई गई और हिंदुस्तान में बहुत सी लड़कियों को अगवा किया गया। बहुत सी तवाइफों को उनके अड्डों से पहला बहला फुसला करके ले जाया गया और एक तरह से ऑर्गेनाइज किस्म की प्रोस्टिट्यूशन इन आइलैंड में की गई। तो वहाँ की एक औरत की कहानी है जिसकी पोती ये कहानी बयान कर रही है कि मेरी दादी एक तवाइफ थी और मेरी दादी से मेरे दादा ने शादी की थी और मेरे दादा ने पंजाब के किसी गांव में कत्ल किया था। उसके बाद अंग्रेज उनको वहां छोड़ गए थे और उसके बाद जब शादी उन्होंने कर ली थी तो उनको वहां अच्छी नजर से नहीं देखा गया और वहां से वो निकल गए और इंग्लैंड पहुंच गए। और फिर ये खुद इंग्लैंड में लंदन यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ा रही थी। तो ये कहानी बताने का मकसद ये है कि ये जो सरमादाराना निज़ाम है, ये जो निज़ाम है जिसमें नाइंसाफ़ी होती है, उस निज़ाम में औरत सिर्फ एक एक खिलौनों की तरह है। और मुसीबत ये है कि ये जो खिलौना है ये हजारों साल से है और हमारे मुल्क में लगता नहीं है कि ये मामला कुछ रफा दफा होने वाला है, औरतों को कुछ उनको हुकूक मिलने वाले हैं। अब हमारी इस वक्त डॉक्टर यास्मीन राशिद का आपको पता ही है, लाहौर की डॉक्टर हैं, बेहतरीन डॉक्टर हैं। और जो भी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा है उसमें जिस तरह से जेल में उनको रखा गया है और जिस तरह से कुछ औरतों को जेल में रखा गया है, वो कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है जिसमें कोई फख्र गुरूर किया जा सके, बल्कि हमारे सर नज़ामत से झुक जाते हैं। तो इस किताब में इसी किस्म की कहानियां हैं और जंगों में जो होता है उसकी दास्तानें हैं। और आम औरतों के साथ जो होता है, जैसे इस लड़की के साथ, फातिमा के साथ जो हुआ, ये तो रोज की कहानी है। हमारे हमारे अस्पताल में जो लड़कियां हैं उन्होंने अपनी कहानियां लिखी हैं, हमने उनको छापा है। और उनके जो गांव देहात की कहानी है, किस तरह से उनकी माएँ जुल्म तशद्दुद का शिकार होती हैं और किस तरह से उनके घर वाले कितनी मुश्किल से उनको गांव से निकालते हैं कि वो कराची पढ़ के आए, लेकिन पढ़ने के लिए भी उनको गांव में इजाज़त लेनी पड़ती है। तो ये बुनियादी बात थी मेरी। और कोई आपको सवाल है तो बताएं, या और कुछ सुनना है तो इसमें से बता सकता हूँ। सर।
Ujala, if you have any comments or questions from the audience, live audience or the audience inside our Zoom.
मैम क्वेश्चंस तो नहीं है, क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है, लेकिन कमेंट है कि हमारा माशरा इस तरह से बन गया है कि अब इन चीजों को बहुत ही ज्यादा निग्लेक्ट किया जा रहा है। मतलब इन पहले तो इन पे फिर भी आवाज उठ जाती थी, लेकिन अब जो है
हाँ, ये
अ,
आम बन गया है। ये अब
बहुत बहुत आम बन गया है ये
हाँ,
चीज।
ये अब ये कहने लगे हैं कि भाई ये अगर तुम अगर तुम लड़की हो तो ऐसा हो गया, तो ऐसी क्या बड़ी बात है।
तो
सर
सर,
लड़कियों ऐसा हो गया की भी बात नहीं है, मतलब बस केस हो गया, आए दिन हम सुनते रहते हैं ये केसेस। मतलब ये नॉर्मल ह्यूमन बीइंग की नेचर होनी नहीं चाहिए।
हाँ, बिल्कुल ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए। लेकिन लेकिन ऐसे ही है हमारे समाज में। और औरतों औरतों के साथ जो सलूक है वो अपनी जगह पर है। और आम 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 हालात में भी देखें ना कि सड़कों पर लड़कियों को परेशान किया जाता है, तालीमी इदारों में उन्हें परेशान
सर
किया जाता
अक्सर तो कल्प्रिट्स हमारे अपने घर में होते हैं।
है। अब क्या
बिल्कुल।
है।
अक्सर तो कल्प्रिट्स हमारे अपने घर में होते हैं।
बिल्कुल सही कह रही हैं आप, बिल्कुल सही कह रही हैं आप। हम अस्पताल में रोज इस किस्म के वाकयात देखते हैं और इनकी कोई सुनवाई नहीं होती। और जो जो करने वाला होता है वो बड़े आराम से घूम रहा होता है, उसको कोई कह नहीं सकता है, वो बड़ी आज़ादी से घूमता है। आप देखें कि अभी कुछ ही सालों की पहले की बात है कि एक हमारी बहुत अच्छी डॉक्टर थी, उनको एक एमपीए ने मार करके जंगल में फेंक दिया था, और उनको इंसाफ नहीं मिल सका। वो उनकी माँ परेशान होती रही, उसको उस लड़की को इंसाफ नहीं मिला। उस आदमी को किसी और आदमी ने कत्ल कर दिया, वो अलग बात है, लेकिन हमारा अदालती निज़ाम उसको इंसाफ नहीं दिला सका।
सर एक
सर,
कमेंट भी है
सॉरी।
और एक सवाल भी है।
जी।
डॉक्टर सना यासिर यहाँ पे हैं, तो उन्होंने कमेंट में लिखा है कि अब लोगों के दिल सख्त हो गए हैं, तो व्हाट इज आवर वे फॉरवर्ड, कि हम क्या करेंगे। और मेरा भी सवाल यही था कि आपको क्या लगता है सर, इतने साल आप नरेट करते रहे औरतों की स्टोरीज को, बहुत अच्छे से आप बयान भी करते हैं जो वो खुद नहीं कर पाई, और लेकिन अब इतना आजादी राय का कहते हैं दौर है कि टेक्नोलॉजी ज्यादा है, प्लेटफॉर्म ज्यादा है, उसके बावजूद ये चीजें अभी आपने जितनी भी स्टेटमेंट्स देखी, ज्यादातर सारी बच्चियां यही बोल रही हैं कि अब ज्यादा मुश्किल है। तो हम वे फॉरवर्ड जा रहे हैं या हम कहीं पीछे की तरफ जा रहे हैं, या अटक गए कहीं पे।
औरतों से औरतों से एक शिकायत है,
जी सर।
और वो शिकायत ये है कि औरतें अपने बेटा, अपने शौहर, अपने भाई, अपने बाप के लिए लड़ती हैं, वो अपने लिए नहीं लड़ती। बात यह है कि औरतों को अपने लिए लड़ना पड़ेगा। उनको अपने बाप के इलाज के लिए अपनी इज्जत अगर बेचनी पड़ जाती है, तो वो तो चलो हो गया, लेकिन उनको लड़ना चाहिए। उन्हें सड़क पर निकल करके अपने हकूक को छीनना होगा। किसी भी समाज में कभी भी किसी भी औरत को उसका हक इसलिए नहीं दिया गया कि उसका हक था। बड़ी दिलचस्प बात है कि अमेरिका में भी जब औरतों का हक मिल रहा था, तो एक ही वोट से उसको हक मिला है, और वो एक वोट उस सेनेटर की माँ ने उसको बोला कि अगर तुम मेरे बेटे नहीं हो, अगर तूने औरतों के हुकूक के लिए वोट नहीं दिया। और आप ये सोचें कि अमेरिका जैसे समाज में इस सेनेट हाफ डिवाइडेड थी कि औरत को वोट का हक दिया जाए कि ना दिया जाए। तो बात यह है कि जब तक औरतें खुद रोड पे नहीं निकलेंगी, कुछ सड़क पे नहीं जाएंगी, और खुद अपने घर के अंदर अपने बेटों को, अपने भाइयों को, और अपने अपने मर्दों को समझाएंगी कि ये जो उनका हक है उनको मिलना चाहिए, और वही समाज तरक्की कर सकता है। जहाँ पर हमारे मुल्क में कुछ ज्यादा मामला खराब है, हालांकि बांग्लादेश हमारे जैसा मुल्क है, हिंदुस्तान भी हमारे जैसा मुल्क है, हिंदुस्तान में भी हालात कोई बहुत ज्यादा अच्छे नहीं है, लेकिन उनका डायरेक्शन तो है। हमारे यहाँ तो कोई डायरेक्शन ही नहीं है। हमारे यहाँ तो आप औरतों पे जो समाज का जुल्म है, जबर है, वो अपनी जगह पर है, और मजहब के नाम पर जिस तरह से उनको बेवकूफ़ बनाया जाता है, वो तो अजीब वो गरीब सूरत हाल है। मुझे हैरत होती है कि तुर्की एक इस्लामी मुल्क है, मराकेश और ट्यूनिस भी इस्लामी मुल्क है, लेकिन वहाँ की मुल्कों को, वहाँ की तुर्की की लड़की को बेवकूफ़ नहीं बनाया जा सकता है कि मैं दूसरी शादी कर लूंगा तो आपको क्या है, ये तो मजहब में है। वहाँ पर मुल्क का कानून है, और मुल्क के कानून के मुताबिक ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है। तो इसी तरह के जो मसाइल हैं हमारे मुल्क में संगीन है, लेकिन उसके लिए औरतों को खुद ही आगे निकलना पड़ेगा।
सर
यस।
एक कमेंट।
उम्मीद है कि मेरा 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 जवाब आप लोगों को अच्छा लगा हो।
सर एक कमेंट आया है वकास रब्बानी का, वो कहते हैं कि उनको ये लगता है कि पाकिस्तान में औरतों को अपने राइट्स पता भी नहीं है, कि उनके बेसिक राइट्स क्या हैं या क्या होने चाहिए। तो उसके लिए क्या मैसिव एजुकेशन हो, तो फिर क्या प्लेटफॉर्म हो। उन्होंने ये भी सजेस्ट किया कि मीडिया ही हो सकता है ऐसा प्लेटफॉर्म।
ये
लेकिन
वकास साहब की बात बिल्कुल दुरुस्त है। और औरतों क्यों, क्या मर्दों को अपने राइट का पता है? बात यह है कि जहालत एक ऐसा हथियार है जो हम सबको दबाने के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। और आप इस बात को आप लोग अच्छी तरीके से समझ लें कि सियासी जमातें, फौज, नौकरशाही और इशराफिया और सरमाएदार और बड़े बड़े जागीरदार, इनमें से कोई भी नहीं चाहता है कि तालीम आम हो। इस वक्त पाकिस्तान में 2 करोड़ 80 लाख बच्चे स्कूल में नहीं हैं, और ये इन बच्चों की तादाद उन बच्चों से ज्यादा है जो स्कूल में हैं। और इस 2 करोड़ 80 लाख बच्चों में से जो लड़कियां हैं, उसमें से 70% लड़कियां स्कूल में नहीं हैं। और जब वो स्कूल में नहीं होंगी तो उनमें अवेयरनेस कैसे आएगी, उनमें आगाही कैसे आएगी? अगर हम लोगों का ये बेवकूफ़ी का ख्याल है कि हुकूमत स्कूल खोलना चाहती है, हुकूमत तालीम आम करना चाहती है, तो ये सिर्फ बकवास के अलावा कुछ नहीं है। हुकूमत कुछ ऐसे स्कूलों की ज़रूर मदद करना चाहती है जहाँ से ऐसे बाबू लोग निकलते रहें जो बाहर के मुल्कों में चले जाएं और मुल्क में काम करें, मुल्क का काम चलाएं। बाकी जो हमारी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं, उनका जो स्टैंडर्ड है और जो स्कूल है इनका जो स्टैंडर्ड है, उनका जो मेयार है, वो इतना घटिया मेयार है कि उसमें तालीम के नाम पर सिवाय जहालत को फ़रोग देने के कुछ भी नहीं होता है। लेकिन इनकी बात सही है कि कुछ अवेयर लड़कियां सोशल मीडिया पर ज़रूर मुहिम चलाएं। और ये अच्छी बात है कि हमारे मुल्क की बहुत सारी औरतों का एक्सेस है, लेकिन ये एक्सेस भी शहरों में है। गांव देहात की औरतों के पास इस किस्म के फ़ोन नहीं है जिनके ऊपर वो ये देख सकें कि उनके साथ क्या हो रहा है और उनके हुकूक के लिए कोई जद्दोजहद कर रहा है। मेरा तो ये ख्याल है।
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for answering all the question, and I really appreciate all the
आप
comments
सब
and
लोगों का
questions that
शुक्रिया कि
I've
आप लोग ये
got.
कॉन्फ्रेंस।
If we do not have any further questions, can we move forward?
Uh, Farah, there are so many comments that we can share with sir because
Yes,
people are commenting on
Yeah.
different issues like child marriages in
issue.
KPK, and people are
Yeah.
also girls are also discussing their point of view in their homes. तो वो हम सर के साथ जो है वो डिस्कस कर लेंगे। एंड आई वुड लाइक कि
Sure.
अगर सर के पास कल टाइम हो तो सर कल हमें पैनल में ज्वाइन करें, तो देयर विल बी मोर क्वेश्चंस।
जरूर जरूर, किस इसी टाइम पर?
जी सर, बिल्कुल इसी
ठीक।
टाइम पे।
ठीक, नो प्रॉब्लम।
ठीक है सर, थैंक यू
ओके,
सो मच।
Thank you
नाउ
so
वी
much,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
खुदा हाफिज।
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, without a further ado, we have a plenary talk lined up. And for that, I would like to invite Dr. Severine Minot. She has a PhD in sociology from York University, Canada, with a long-standing experience in teaching, research, and field practice in social psychology and psychoeducation at the interstices of criminologies, social development, migration studies, and cultural studies. Dr. Minot has been working with women survivors since 1999. Between 2015 and 2021, Dr. Minot was a faculty member at Habib University, Karachi, Pakistan, where she taught the course methodologies in sex, gender, and sexuality studies, and spearheaded the development and establishment of the institutional policy and procedure for the management of gender and sexual violence incidents on campus. Most recently, she was mandated to set up the Community Care and Safety Office at Al Akwain University in Ifrin, Morocco, to respond to incidents and complaints relating to gender discrimination and sexual misconduct. It is great to have you here, Dr. Severine, and I would like you to take the call.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be back at the International Women's Conference. I've spoken at your events in the past. It's always very heartfelt. I know that these conferences and these opportunities, this platform is essential in Pakistan and around the world. So thank you so much for having me. I just want to confirm that the audio is working well. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, excellent. So let me share my screen. I've got a quick PowerPoint to accompany my talk. I hope you can see my PowerPoint at this point. Let me just go to the first slide.
Yes.
Here, perfect. So I want to talk today about a little bit my experience around women's rights and particularly gender-based violence. And, you know, we tend to think that that's part of life because so many of us experience different forms of sexual harassment, gender-based violence in our domestic situation or even at home. It could be with brothers, fathers, uncles. And, you know, the place that is supposed to be the safest place for women is the home. But yet it's also the most dangerous. It is, you know, the highest level of homicide of women is done by intimate partners. And we see this in worldwide statistics. The home is not necessarily the safest place for women. In fact, a lot of the time women are raised and socialized to think that they need a man's protection, and it is these very men that will end up as you know, predators or perpetrators of violence. So you know, it's a catch-22 for women, and I want to talk about how we survive this. But first, I'm going to go over a little bit of data, you know, some facts about gender-based violence. There are 4 different types of gender-based violence. It can be physical, sexual, emotional, and psychological, as well as socioeconomic. So, for example, keeping a woman, you know, financially dependent, you know, can be seen as a form of violence because she doesn't have the choice to leave a difficult situation. And again, you know, psychological and emotional violence, it starts at home with the people that we are closest with. There are different platforms or different circumstances where gender-based violence can be seen, and new ones now are becoming very, very potent, particularly what we call, you know, cyberbullying and these kinds of things. So technology assisted gender-based violence. Oh, I think someone's on the phone. Perfect. So gender-based violence has also been used as a weapon of war. We know, for example, that women get raped in war circumstances, that in the process of migration, when, you know, refugees are traveling from place to place, women are often a target. So we are seeing a lot of things around these 4 different types. The context where, you know, the home is unsafe, the public sphere is unsafe, and, you know, in war circumstances we are targeted, and now even online is unsafe, right? So we're looking at very serious, you know, a very serious situation where, and here I'm going to give you some statistics. So 1 in 3 women worldwide has experienced physical or sexual intimate partner violence. This is very high, right? We're thinking, you know, a third of women around the world, and this is data by UN Women, and they gathered data from different countries all around the world, collate the data, and now we have averages for the globe, for the world. But this data doesn't actually count sexual harassment. It only counts intimate partner violence or non-partner sexual violence. So on top of that, there's sexual harassment and sexual harassment on the street, at work. And as you said in my little biography, I started working with women who came from abuse, you know, more than close to 25 years ago. So more than 20 years ago, I started with started working with women who were coming out of prison. They had committed crimes, some of them very serious crimes, but all of them came from abuse. None of them came from a trauma-free household or a trauma-free personal experience. So they were all traumatized before committing the crimes and before going to prison. And so, you know, having to work with them and understanding what were their needs in order to socially reintegrate society was my undergraduate project. And I continued working with women ever since, and not just women, but also youth and vulnerable populations. I want to highlight that most violence violence against women is perpetrated by current or former husbands or intimate partners. And we're looking at, 26% of women aged 15 or older having been subjected to this kind of violence. And so let me just pass to the next. A few more stats before I get on to talking about healing. And I'm sorry, I need to give you a trigger warning because, these are difficult, these are difficult experiences to relive when we talk about those subjects. I wanted to tell you that almost 1 in 4 adolescent girls aged 15 to 19 years old has already experienced physical or sexual violence from an intimate partner or husband, and that 16% of young women aged 15 to 24 experienced this violence in the past 12 months alone. So just in the past year. So these are very high numbers. And having set up an office called the Community Care and Safety Office at Alajuela University, I've seen a lot of cases, not necessarily more than any other universities, but enough for me to be, very concerned with how women experience the trauma and how they get themselves out of that trauma and how they heal from experiences of gender-based violence. And that can be, again, it can go all the way from rape to attempted rape to, different kinds of sexual assaults, having a stalker, not feeling safe around men or around situations involving men, and I hate to see it in young girls who experience this as literally like the end of their world. They're about to completely, mess up their semester at school. They think it's the end, when they've been victimized. They just don't know how to move forward. And moving forward in the face of trauma is essential. Just like any form of grief, there are steps and there are stages of grief. And we need to be able to pass through them in order to come out the other side with some growth, some personal transformation, and a sense of purpose out of that. And so when we don't know how to pass to the next stage and the next stage, all the way to acceptance and growth and personal transformation, when we don't know, we get stuck. And we can get stuck in a sense of victim mode, right? Like the victimhood. Why did this happen to me? Why, it must be my fault. And there's a lot of self-shaming and self-blaming. And society tends to point the finger to the victim also. So even victims, cannot necessarily seek sympathy or empathy, in the public at large. Sometimes even their own family is going to blame and shame the woman. So we need to really address, as Dr. Shersha was talking about, we need to address the public dimension of shaming and blaming victims. But I think my talk is going to be more focused on our own process and how to move forward from that. And I want to talk before that, just basically talk about trauma and define it. So, trauma is simply exposure to any traumatic situation or event that overwhelms our ability to cope. And that can include, and as you can see, women will be more at risk for this, sexual, physical, and emotional abuse, as well as neglect, traumatic grief, loss or abandonment of a loved one. So you can imagine, feeling betrayed by your spouse, for example, and things like that. That can also bring in trauma. There's natural and man-made disasters. We know statistically that women are more, have experienced higher levels of impact for natural disasters because they're often bogged down by taking care of children and trying to preserve the family or the domestic materials, and so they're much more tied to the home. So if there's a cataclysm or mudslide or anything like that, they're much more at risk than men. Less mobile, for example. There are interpersonal and domestic experiences of violence, medical trauma, community and school violence, as well as serious accidents. We can add to that a lot more. For example, cyberbullying, being stalked online, right? Is someone hacking your computer and accessing personal information and then threatening you to do things that you don't want, coercing someone to doing things that they don't want to do, under threat of having this information released to their parents or to the public. So again, women can be coerced in those ways. We've seen incidents, across many universities where young girls are often coerced to share, intimate pictures, and then next thing you know, that person who has access to those pictures will threaten them and coerce the women to do things they don't want to do under threat that these pictures will be released. So, anything like that can be a cause for trauma and a loss of trust in the world and in others. And those are very serious situations. Now, I really want to, build my talk on how do we move through this. And so there are many, many books on, going from victim mode to survivor mode. And there's even, better, higher steps than that. But let's just first focus on that aspect. I think there is first an attachment to our stories. When we feel like we've been victimized, we feel legitimate in our victimization, in our story of victimization. And that legitimacy is very real. We are legitimate in our stories of victimhood if we've been victimized. But staying in that mental space is really unproductive in terms of psychological progress. And it's very important to, question our attachment to our stories, right? And to the labels that we put on ourselves. So we can think of ourselves in the past as having been victimized, but what do we create in the moment is really, really important. Am I still a victim? Do I choose to remain a victim because I'm attached to that narrative? And so I think our attachment to our stories can hold us back. And when I do work with women, I really work on trying to rewrite that story, trying to re-articulate that story, and to make them see that our stories are not static, and that our stories don't define us, and that our stories have to be rewritten all the way to how they've made us stronger. Right? Because adversity does make us stronger. It makes us more resilient. It prepares us for the future. Oftentimes, our parents didn't prepare us. They didn't teach us self-defense. They didn't teach us to be super assertive, to even scream if someone, touches us without consent. Like, we are so used to, be accommodating and graceful and kind and not to make any trouble, so that when we need to be self-assertive because someone is not respecting our boundaries, we often self-erase right, in order to keep the peace, when in fact we are entitled to our reactions. I wanted to also look at some data here, still international data on the prevalence of PTSD, which is post-traumatic syndrome disorder. And so with women globally, we see an incidence of 10 to 12% of PTSD compared to men, who are around 5 to 6%. So women, again, are more prone to mental health issues emanating from some trauma in their life. And I think it's very important to learn how to get past our difficult emotions and our difficult memories, because this is also sort of part of a realization that these difficult experiences and memories are meant to push us to grow stronger. And so if we stay within the mental and the emotional space of unease, of victimhood, we are definitely doing ourselves a disservice, and we are stopping or curbing or I would say making our growth slower than it can be, right? We're slowing down our personal transformation. So it's really important to be really proactive, be really proactive and to embrace our inner resilience. And my mom used to always say, just when you think you have nothing more to give, that you're about to crumble, something divine inside of you will kick in, and it brings our ability, our resilience, to another level. And she called it a state of grace. And I love that expression, that a state of grace does carry us forward, even when we think we have nothing to give, even when we think I just can't do this anymore. So I think it's really important to connect to our sense of inner grace, to tap into the next level of resilience. I also call that hero energy, right? That hero energy, when you watch a movie and you feel that hero energy is coming back from the bottom after some really difficult times, the hero finds his or her motivation, right, again, and her power. And so I think we need to tap into our hero energy to get over these levels of trauma. I've seen women be completely paralyzed for weeks, even months, after incidents of gender-based violence, where they had to take a semester off. They were completely, their sense of trust in the whole world just crumbled, and they self-isolated. They stopped eating. They stopped sleeping. The mind is churning and churning. And so this is where I would also, give the tip of seeking help, trying to find a counselor or a psychologist that will, be able to walk us through the process, the ups and downs of healing, because it's not a straight line up. Healing is never a straight line up. There are good days and there are bad days. And so the first tip that I want to give women, because so many of us go through some difficult periods, is to first ensure our safety. If you're not safe at home, try to, find ways to leave home and go to a safer place. And there are shelters for women. And yes, it can be a setback for life, especially if there's kids involved and things like that. But your safety matters. And so making your safety a priority is something we learn, right? Especially when we're used to an abusive relationship, when we're used to abuse in our household, even psychological abuse. It's so hard to think, have I been psychologically abused for years now? Like, have I become this because I'm being put down constantly at home? So, making your safety a priority, your mental, emotional, physical, sexual safety a priority, that does belong to us to a great extent. And so if that means also taking a class in self-defense and learning Taekwondo, do that. If it means, walking around with a big chain, that's what I do. My keychain is a big chain, and it's my safety. If I walk around at night and I feel someone might be following me, I pull out my keychain, and it's a long chain and it's scary. It's a scary chain. I don't want to use it, but I'm ready to use it if I need to defend myself. And usually that deters the people who may be following me. So, I'm always worried about my safety. It's not a big worry that haunts me, but it's something that is part of my daily life, something that most men don't experience, that is very unique to women. I would also say tip number 2, surround yourself with supportive people and avoid those who shame and blame you. And even if it's the closest people to you who are shaming and blaming you, that might be really difficult to, sort of put some distance between yourself and them. So, but it is really essential, because reconstructing yourself cannot start from a place of, being surrounded by people who put us down, who are constantly reminding us, that it could have been our fault. What were we doing out, at that time? What were we wearing? And all of those things. We know that women in full abayas and niqab still get raped. And so it's not a matter of what we are wearing. And we know that women in broad daylight still get raped. So it's not a matter of what time it was. So, all these kinds of discourses are really toxic in the process of healing. The third tip, and I can see that they're not always easy to reach. The third tip that I have is to take care of yourself and to focus on your health and well-being. And I don't mean self-indulging with, too much food or excessive isolation and things like that. Really taking care of yourself may mean connecting with others who will help you go to the gym and eat healthy and, find a healthy balance in your life, getting into a healthy routine. And that's really, really hard, because women who suffer from trauma usually experience the psychological symptoms of depression and, feeling really down and demotivated and isolated. Whereas men with traumatic experiences, most of them channel that through forms of aggression. So women and men don't channel their trauma in the same way at all, on average. I would also, something really important, the fourth one is to return to your own vision and goals. And this is really important, especially with domestic violence, or intimate partner violence, because often we self-erase. We forget, who we are deep inside, and we self-erase to the point where, when the abuse brings us to the breaking point, we don't know who we are anymore. We don't know what we live for. We don't know what we're good at anymore. We've self-erased for so long that finding ourselves again and finding what we're here for is really important in our process of healing. I would also say that you need to give yourself time. It takes time to heal. Healing takes time. So, healing is a process with ups and downs, and it's not, and every day is not going to be better than the next. Some days are going to be worse, but over time, it does get better. I would also say, as I said before, seek help. Believe in yourself that you will get through this and that things will get easier. If you don't have that faith of the light at the end of the tunnel, you need to cultivate that. Another metaphor that I really like in my work in psychoeducation with victims is I tell them, you can look at the light at the end of the tunnel, but in the moment, you can choose to be the light in the tunnel. And that's a shift in attitude, because we become much more aware of what we're creating in the moment, right? Despite the hardship, despite the trials, I can choose to be right now strong and optimistic, right? And so what we're creating right now for ourselves and for others around us is, we are accountable for that. And I think that's much more empowering for women to think, I am in control right now. Right now, I'm in control. I'm going to, create something good for myself, and I'm going to create a good vibe, even though I'm going through a really difficult time. So a quick definition of resilience is that resilience is the ability to recover strength, determination, spirit, flexibility, and good humor in the face of change, in the face of mistakes, or in the face of trials, right? And trials are these difficult experiences. I know that time is passing by. I don't have very much more to go over, but now I want to talk about the next level. I talked about going from victim to survivor, and now I want to talk about going from survivor to thriver. I like to call it the warrior spirit, right? This is where we become advocates, and our own experience informs our engagement and commitment to broader social and public health issues. And gender-based violence is a public health issue. I want to say that our difficult experiences equip us to help others, that without those difficult experiences, we're not a good person to receive others in their hardships. And that makes us better leaders. That makes us better mentors, right? Because we're going to support our mentees adequately when they're going through a tough time, because we went through the same things, right? So it makes us better leaders. Our trauma also makes us more empathetic towards others, and not just others specifically, but others in general, right? And it could be, someone who's done bad things, who is trying to get their life together, or someone who's just through, bad circumstances, has lost everything and need that support, understanding the sense of loss. And it could be a sense of loss towards others, like in terms of trust, in terms of loyalty, or it could be a sense of, so that empathy that grows in us, right, is being fed by our past difficult experiences. Like, how would I like others to be empathetic towards me in those times of trial? And then we know, because we went through it. And the people who showed us empathy showed us, how to be empathetic towards others as well. We know what they're going through. And this is the next step, is to reinvent ourselves, right? Like, change the narrative, change our story. What am I learning? How am I stronger? Our ability to reinvent ourselves gives hope to people, to those who feel stuck. And so many times I have victims in my office who are just stuck, and I have to tell them about my own stories. in order for them to realize so much stuff happened to me, and look at where I am in my life. I have a good career, I have a peaceful life, I have lots of friends, I have a loving home, and so we can achieve all that despite what happened to us in the past. So again, my ability to reinvent myself is giving hope to others. So sometimes my own narrative is inspirational to others. Now, also learning from our past makes us wiser and self-accountable, and self-accountability is important. It doesn't mean that it's our fault that things happen to us. It means that we are accountable for how we are going to deal with the situation, how we're going to get unstuck, right? How we're going to let ourselves feel about this.
Extremely sorry, Dr. Minot, but I have to remind you that your time is passing really fast, and we have a lot of questions for you also.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So I'm almost done. Our ability to create our life. And this is this idea. What are you creating? Right? I want you guys, when you go through a difficult period, and then the days afterwards are difficult, what are you creating in the moment? So now, to engage the audience, I have this question. What have your experiences of gender-based violence taught you? How have they made you stronger and better? And I have a few quotes of my own, actually, that I put on the side here. Healing from GBVs has taught me to be more assertive. It has taught me that I matter. That it has taught me not to mind other people's judgments. They will judge us. We have to let that go. They don't know our stories, right? And our stories are changing. It has taught me that I can choose my inner peace. That's a choice. And it has taught me that people who don't respect my boundaries don't actually respect me. And I have to, accept that and put some distance, choose how I'm going to deal with those people in a mature and reasonable way. It has taught me that I don't need an apology to forgive. And it has taught me how to close a chapter in order to open a new chapter of life, right? And finally, I'm done. I want to show you this kintsugi. Kintsugi. Look at the bowl in this image. This bowl is a Japanese art of putting broken pieces back together. And they usually do this for bowls and plates and vases. And I like that it's linked to the sense of purpose. I think that when we are broken, it's our responsibility to put ourselves back together, to put our pieces back together with care and beauty. And I think that this personal responsibility is about rediscovering our sense of purpose. And so on that, I thank you. And I want to open the floor for questions and comments.
Farah, you are on mute. Thank you so much, Dr. Sabrine. We have a number of comments and number of questions from the audience we have now, and from the audience that are watching on YouTube.
Okay, we have first question that states, what steps can be taken to incorporate comprehensive sex education that addresses issues of consent and respect?
Yeah, I think that has to be for both boys and girls at a young age, because we know that sexual abuse of little girls and little boys can happen, in the early ages of childhood. So I think that, little girls and little boys have to be taught good touch, bad touch. They have to be respected when they say, I don't want this uncle to kiss me. I don't want this, we need to listen to them. Oftentimes, and so many cases, trust me, I've dealt with women who were so traumatized from many years of childhood sexual abuse. And I think it's partly the responsibility of the state and responsibility of the schools to do it, whether parents are happy with it or not. It is a question of health for the child. And sometimes the parents prefer, no, we don't talk about those things, but those things happen. And they can happen on the street. It can happen with a neighbor who sees the little girl pass in the same route it can be the shop owner, it can be the uncle, it can even be the brother, it can be the cousin, it can be. So again, your home, to assume that your home is necessarily safe for your little girl or little boy is an assumption. And the statistics show that we should not have these assumptions. So I would start with, soft education about age appropriate, good touch, bad touch, and, teaching a child to set their boundaries. No, I don't want to sit on your lap. No, I don't want, please stop touching me. And the parents have to respect that. They have to see that as a good thing for the child to self-assert in a way that preserves their physical integrity. I think that's very, very important. First level. After that, we can continue over the ages, you know, a little bit more information. And I would highly suggest that, you know, it's not just about sexuality per se, but even just self-defense. Right? Like women,
Yes.
men are taught self-defense. So you got to be tough, you got to be manly, and it's part of their, you know, it's part of their education. Women, we are not taught these things. And when I've been physically harassed, assaulted, I froze. And I usually run away, or I have a defensive mechanism, but in that occasion I froze. And so there's the freeze, there's the flight, right, which is fleeing, and then there's the fight response, which is fighting, but there's also fawn. Fawning is pretending you're into it in order to avoid the risk. And it could be a risk of getting beaten, a risk of getting killed, a risk of retaliation, a risk of, and we see this in Pakistan, acid attacks, like if when women resist, we are punished. So sometimes it's better not to resist, and we fawn, we pretend, or we go with it, but not willingly, only because of the pressure and the fear of what could happen to us. So I think more education on those responses are important, and I think that boys and young men have to be thoroughly integrated into that education. It's not just education for women, but I think both genders and all genders have to be included in this. Yeah. I hope it
very well elaborated. Dr. Minot, we have another question from Waqas Rabbani and Fiza Abbas, and that actually depicts the society that we are living in. They want to ask that how does one break free of those attachments from those traumatic stories when society keeps reminding an individual of those stories and ascribes deep social stigma to the individual?
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the hardest things, and those labels we keep, we keep on our heart, and then they start defining us, and we think I'll never be anything but this, right? I think we have to start imagining and visualizing ourselves as more than that, and not letting society tell us. It's part of the deprogramming our mind. We've been programmed to fit the labels. We've been programmed to accept what people say about us, but that breaks us away from our own power to self-create. We have the power, and at every moment we have the power to challenge those narratives. At every moment we have the power to say, you know what, that may have been the story of my past, but it will not be the story of my present, and it will not be the story of my future. And I choose now to rewrite that story, and to take possession of that is very important. And sometimes we can't do it alone. That's why I say seek help, go see a counselor, go see someone who can keep you on a weekly basis hooked and committed to a vision of yourself that doesn't fit the victim narrative or the so I think that's very important, is to take power.
Thank you
the nature
so
of
much.
empowerment.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Minot. It is always a pleasure to have you with us, and thank you so much for being a part of this conference for such long.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure, and my heart is with you all. I carry you in my heart. I miss Pakistan terribly, and I just wish you the best of conference. You have some amazing speakers coming up. Thank you also for organizing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
With that note, actually, we have amazing speakers lined up. And next, I would like to request Dr. Sadaf Ahmed. She is the Director of Center of Health and Wellbeing, University of Karachi. Dr. Ahmed, a PhD in human physiology with expertise in psychophysiology and behavioral neuroscience. Pakistan's pioneer in introducing psychophysiology in various institutes and mental health sector, and co-authored Pakistan's first stress tool evaluating tool, that is Sadaf Stress Scale, currently serving as an assistant professor at University of Karachi, driven by a passion for improving the lives of others. Her research focuses to shed light on the intersection of physical and psychological well-being, ultimately making a profound impact on the lives of those affected by this challenging journey. representing Pakistan's academic and health sector globally with her sections
Thank
as
you,
a
Farah.
trainer.
Thank you, Farah. This is
Ma'am,
too
you
much
never let
information.
me complete your introduction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because
Okay.
we are running short of time and all these speakers are actually waiting. I am very much thankful for all these speakers, especially Dr. Shesha Sayyed and Dr. Savreen, to deliver such useful and engaging session. I think my presentation is much more on the heavier note because it is much more scientific, and might be we must develop an understanding, or might we celebrate the theme, because this year we have a theme that we have to celebrate the women's stories. Uh, as both of our speakers highlighted in this aspect of stories in different ways. For example, Dr. Severine was actually narrating her own experiences, and also the aspects where the survivors have fought the war, or overcome their trauma, and how much it was necessary, while Dr. Shesha Sayed was being the voice of those women who were not narrating the stories publicly, but as a healer, as a doctor, they were narrating the stories to him. As a social activist, they were narrating the stories to him. Basically, in this ever evolving narrative landscape, where the stories we tell and stories we choose to hear actually shape the understanding of human experiences, whether of any gender. Traditionally, the whole discussion surrounding women's narrative have often been confined to all the tales of victories and resilience. We want to listen to the stories which has the proper winning stories and endings, or stories of overcoming the adversity, which are truly undeniably powerful. But it is only scratched the surface. It is only scratching the surface of what women has their potential or contributions to their own stories. So it is within this narrative gap that can explore that how the women mind resonate, and how the cerebral power is the intrinsic to women's narrative. Next, please, because Ujala is actually running my presentation, so I would like to have her help. Ujala, can we have the next slide, please? So everyone knows that beside the gender narratives, stories are all about that actually shapes our brain, whether before trauma, after trauma, or generally when we narrate any of our story or any of our event of the life that we can connect, is often for better. It shapes our brain for the better. It tie strangers or people connect together. It helps us to move more empathetically or generously. So stories are there. Next, please. So storytelling is always empowering, and this is particularly important for women, which I am focusing right now, because by crafting any narrative, or by actually digging deep into their own intellectual ability to fabric their stories, to narrate their stories, there is a bond that they can develop with their experiences, their perspectives, and the world as well. Because the prevailing narrative often reduces the prevailing narrative that I am talking about, that we always want to listen to the survivor stories, we always want to listen to the victorious stories, we always want to listen to the resilient stories. So this prevailing narrative is often reducing the women's tale to a linear journey of success only, that actually overshadow the potentials of how the women mind work. And beyond that, it is an exploration of both the diversity and the philosophical aspect of the women narrative. So we need to have a very profound intellectual exploration that is inherent to the women in telling their stories, whether it is emotional intelligence, whether it is complex emotions, relationships, or whether it is societal dynamics of the human experience. So there are so many human experiences that women want to narrate and women are narrating, but no one is actually listening them as a story. We always want to have a story that has a triumph, or that has a resilience, or that has a victory. So all the women are not actually covering the aspect that they are actually telling the story, and it is very cognitively sophisticated. It has some symbolism, it has some metaphor, but people are actually not taking it from that lens. Next, please. So women narratives always serves as intellectual epics, reflecting not only personal triumphs but also the complex workings of human mind. So if we see women beyond being only the women, but also as a complete human, where their mind is a mind-blowing thing, which has a certain complex not only the structural, neurological, but psychological powers as well. Next, please. So, the stories, mission and stories vision are basically those which are actually complexities of women narratives. And the first one is the multifaceted perspective or emotional intelligence. I can say that emotional intelligence, when we talk about emotional intelligence, it is women narratives often exhibit a very profound depth of emotional exploration. For example, complexities of joy, sorrow, love, vulnerability. So emotional intelligence transcends more into, you can say, the human experiences as well, and it also evokes certain other emotions and certain other characteristics in the listener as well. So when we talk about empathy, when we talk about connection, artfully articulating the emotional rainbow of those specific narratives is very important. So emotional intelligence is one of the part of the complex arena of how women are narrating these stories, and it actually offered the exploration of not only feelings but the motivation to narrate the story and the interpersonal connection as well. So articulation is very important. And then multifaceted perspective is also their personal experiences or our personal experiences, where we delve into the complexities of emotions, relationships, and societal dynamics. So we actually narrate the demonstrating cognitive richness, or we can go beyond communication. We can communicate not only with words but also the deep understanding of the body language as a tool of conveying the abstract concepts and subtle messages. So women are not only narrating with words but also with the deep understanding of other languages as well. Next, please. So cognitive diversity is very important, and cognitive diversity is expanding our intellectual breadth of those stories. Women has always this potential that beyond the conventional storytelling, women are always able to expand their intellectual train of thoughts and then intellectual narration of these stories, where it can be personal, it can be societal, it can be linked, and it showcases that how challenges can be perceived, from personal growth to the resilience to the societal challenges. Everything is in there, and it has a potential to impact people differently at different cognitive level as well. So women are challenging their cognition as well, expanding their narratives. ये सारी वो चीजें हैं, या मैं आपको जो भी चीजें बता रही हूँ, दीज आर नॉट वेरी कॉम्प्लेक्स साइंटिफिक थिंग्स, बट बेसिकली अगर आप किसी भी, आप अभी भी मैं आपसे कहूँ, आप सब से कि आप अपनी स्टोरी नरेट करें, तो उसके अंदर बहुत सारी एबिलिटीज होंगी. जरूरी नहीं है कि आपके पास, आप कहें कि नहीं मेरे पास कोई स्टोरी नहीं है, आई हैव अ सिंपल लाइफ. सिंपल लाइफ इज योर स्टोरी. So this is actually building your cognition around the things. This is how you are actually writing about yourself, talking about yourself, expressing about yourself. This is your story. And then there is a very interesting perspective of symbolism and metaphor, which convey the complex ideas and experiences. Let me simplify this for you. That sophistication in language, that the use of symbolism and metaphor in women narratives adds actually layers of sophistication. So it is much more communication. Yes, communication, words, languages, understanding of the language as a tool. But along with that, there is also the symbolic engagement of the listener. For example, we are inherent with the ability that we communicate our story or we tell our story with respect to the audience. जो हमारे साथ मौजूद होता है, हम उसकी कन्वीनियंस के लिए, हम उसको engage cognitively करने के लिए, we have the layers and we can explain, women can explain or narrate very well, so that constructive meaning of the story can be narrated, and it is the innate ability. Next, please. So we cannot separate the cultural aspect, addressing societal norms, expectations, and injustices. So women narratives are always somewhere embedded in the societal norms, where the commentary or the story is always revolving around how societal structures and what societal structure we have and what expectation we are under and what expectation we need to fulfill. So there is a subconscious and the conscious level, and there is also an intellectual awareness of us, of ourselves. So as Dr. Shesha Sayed was saying, that women are not aware of their basic rights. So that's how we neuroscientists also claim that the women are not aware of their own potentials. They are not aware of their own context, their own intellectual awareness. So it is much more like that. That is the point in the cultural aspects where we are narrating the story, but we are not using the transformative tools. We can use, and we can also use that for the identity formation, which is the next point, that identity formation reflecting the complex process of self discovery and self डेफिनेशन. सो जब आप अपने आप से मिलेंगे, जब आप अपने बारे में सोचेंगे, जब आप अपने बारे में लिखेंगे, ये वेल बीइंग का ही एक पार्ट है। तो आपकी स्टोरीज में, आपके कम्युनिकेशन में, आप बिल्ट इन आपके ब्रेन में ये खुदादाद सलाहियतें हैं कि आप अपनी आप को पहचानें और आप अपने आप के नरेटिव्स को मोल्ड करें और अपने नरेटिव्स को एक्सप्रेस करें। लेकिन बात यहीं पे आ जाती है कि हम उन चीजों को कभी भी जो है वो नहीं करते, कि हम उसको कभी भी हाईलाइट नहीं करते, या हम सोचना नहीं चाहते। तो एज अ विमेन वी आर मच मोर सप्रेस्ड अनकॉन्शियसली और सबकॉन्शियसली टू नॉट टू टेल अवर स्टोरी, और नॉट टू सी आवर सेल्व्स एज हीरोज, और नॉट टू मीट आवर सेल्फ। जब तक हम अपने आप से खुद नहीं मिलेंगे, ये जो हमारे अपने नरेटिव्स हैं, हम उनको एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर सकेंगे। नेक्स्ट प्लीज। So women narrative serves as मैं क्यों बता रही हूँ ये सब, क्योंकि ये बहुत जरूरी है। देखें, बात करना बहुत जरूरी है अपनी स्टोरीज को, मैं स्टोरी ही कहूंगी इसको। मैं आपको हमेशा ये एस्पेक्ट या ये पर्सपेक्टिव तोड़ने की जो है वो मोटिवेशन दूंगी कि हमेशा कोई सक्सेसफुल विमेन, या जिसने एडवर्सिटी से निकल के रिजिलियंस में कदम रखा या रिजिलियंस शो किया, वो ही अपनी स्टोरी नरेट करेगी, और बाकी विमेन के पास स्टोरीज नहीं है। एवरी विमेन हैज स्टोरीज। तो कॉम्प्लेक्स वर्किंग्स ऑफ जो मेमोरी है वो भी हमारा इसी तरह काम करता है, दैट विमेन्स स्टोरी टेलिंग रिफ्लेक्ट्स द सिलेक्टिव प्रोसेसेस ऑफ मेमोरी रिकॉल एंड रिकंस्ट्रक्शन, इलिस्ट्रेटिंग, बार बार आप उसको रिकॉल करते हैं, आपके माइंड जो है वो उसको पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस को इलिस्ट्रेट करता है। ट्रॉमा की बात हम अभी कर रहे थे, जब तक आप अपने ट्रॉमा को टॉक इट आउट नहीं करेंगे या राइट इट आउट नहीं करेंगे, देयर आर सो मैनी interventions to heal trauma that involves writing or speaking or expressing through art. So basically these are all expressions and the form of narrations. So basically coherent and meaningful narrative generate hota hai that has a constructive meaning. Then there is a philosophical explorations as well. Everyone thinks that you need to be highly educated to be philosophical, but philosophy is a very different part where philosophical exploration actually address the existential questions of morality and nature and human existence and human experience. So you have to question everything. And you can question everything, whether this experience of you, whether this feeling of you, whether this existence of this particular behavior exists or not. So the storytelling reflects a contemplative engagement with the profound aspect of the human experience. And that's why women's stories are much more emotional and connected and much more humanly when narrated. Reflective narratives are also a part where women narratives can act as or serve as reflective narratives, where they have the reflective elements. And वही बात है कि ऑनगोइंग प्रोसेस है ये एक, कि आप कैसे जो है वो मीनिंग तलाश करते हैं उन चीजों में। सो रिफ्लेक्टिव नरेटिव्स बन जाते हैं हमेशा। अगर मैं अपनी स्टोरी बता रही हूँ तो इट इज अ रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ माई थॉट, माई पर्सनैलिटी, माई एक्सपीरियंसेस। एंड इफ यू आर टेलिंग द सेम स्टोरी, इफ वी हैव द सेम incident to narrate, we have a very reflective narrative of that particular incident. Next, please. Neurological aspect of storytelling, because it actually emphasizes that there is a neurological control of your brain. So whether your brain is behaving in some manner or other, we have certain chemicals, we have certain reward system, we have certain neurotransmitters, we have certain brain regions that actually take part in all of this storytelling. Next, please. Where brain parts like prefrontal cortex, temporal lobe, mirror neurons. So I am just highlighting it quickly. Prefrontal cortex is this area which is involved in the decision making. So it organize thoughts, it help you in decision making, it help you process your emotion. That is embedded in your narratives. Then temporal lobe is also activated when you are narrating the story. So it cause memory formation, it help you to memorize, or it help you to recall. It also allow you to create and recall the vivid mental images you have of that particular incident and associate that with your narrative. Then we have mirror neurons, and mirror neuron get stimulated every now and then, and the development of empathy is basically on them. So mirror neurons are there. And then oxytocin, which is a very known chemical, and everyone know that the release of that particular chemical is actually help you to build connection and bonds, and it enhances feeling and trust and empathy. The most good example is the bond of mother and baby, and it is built on oxytocin, and that's how we build connection. So oxytocin is much more, which is creating your deeper bonds and deep love. Next, please. Then dopamine and reward pathway. If you are watching TV, so you are feeling happy. If you are eating something and you are feeling happy, this is all dopamine and reward pathway. So it actually reinforces the positive experience associated with the storytelling. If you are narrating your story and someone is nodding their head, so it is the positive feedback, and it encourages you to engage in and enjoy the narrative. Then default mode network. Network, which is DMNs, is actually the connection that involves self-reflection and the integration of personal experiences into narrative framework. लोग बड़े परेशान हो जाते हैं कि जब खवातीन स्टोरी सुनाना शुरू होती हैं या खवातीन कोई जो है वो स्टेप जो है वो नरेट करती हैं एक छोटा सा भी, तो उसमें वो अपने पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस ऐड कर देती हैं, इमोशंस ऐड कर देती हैं, बट दिस इज द डिफॉल्ट मोड नेटवर्क that the women have the power to actually narrate these stories in a self-reflective way. Then language processing areas where Wernicke's and Broca's area, there are so many areas in the brain get activated. It ensures that coherent expression is there. If I'm talking, if I'm moving my head, hands, I am blinking my eyes, my expressions and my wordings are actually going to be understood by the listeners or by those who are actually watching me right now. So language processing areas are doing this to the story, and then the cognitive flexibility is there, which fosters adaptability and enhances cognitive skill. If I'm narrating a story one time, so this is a different thing. But if I'm narrating a story the third or the fourth or the fifth time, so obviously the cognitive flexibility helps me to improve it and also to adapt the cognitive skills. So my brain is telling me that how to narrate my story effectively, and that's how we are improving or improvising ourselves emotionally as well. And this is a step towards well-being as well. Next, please. So beyond the words on a page, women's narrative echo the intellectual heartbeat of a collective journey, a celebration of resilience, of course, a reflection of identity, but on the other hand, and an exploration of the profound intricacies or complexities of human mind. So don't take it like we have to have a good written story, good written script. Of course, Dr. Shesha is one of the very known storyteller, one of the very known novelist, one of the very known writers. So he have a good vocabulary, he have a good expression, but you cannot narrate the story when we are having for example, storytelling circle, or if we are meeting once in a while, so we are not narrating our own story. I am telling you that my whole presentation, आप सबको मैं ये presentation अगर required होगी तो my coordinators will email you as well. These are your innate powers of your storytelling. So whether you have your own story, you can narrate in a very positive and in a very reflective way, and you will feel, believe me, you will feel better for that. Next, please. So a brief story is always a story. And I would like to encourage that very soon we are launching with our neuroscience platform. We are launching club, a book club type, a storytelling type club. So I will be inviting all of you to narrate your story, because every story is actually the story. It ends when we all become stories. So whenever we will be no more, our stories will be there. So write it down, narrate it down, convey it very successfully, because you have the ability. तो आप कभी ये नहीं सोच सकते कि डॉक्टर सदफ हैं या डॉक्टर सेवरीन हैं या डॉक्टर शेरशाह हैं. So they have the ability because they have the this qualification, or they have this vocabulary, or they have this experience. Every one of you actually have the innate ability to narrate your story, whether with words, whether with expression, whether with combination of that. So this was my message. I know, I don't know that how you guys took it, but I would love to have feedback if any one of you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That is seriously very good. We have a room for one question only, and obviously, Mr. Waqas Rabbani has been so active in questioning. We also have some questions on YouTube, which I will send you personally on email. But let's address this question: that does all storytelling help, or do stories need to be relatable to help shape the mind?
Ma'am, you are
Ma'am, you're
unmute.
muted.
You are mute. You need to unmute.
Okay, so Vakas, basically every story makes sense or being relevant. Let the listeners and the people decide. But if anyone is thinking that the story is story, So my point of view was that they should narrate the story. एंड ये जरूरी नहीं है कि नरेशन के लिए हमें कोई इसी तरह का प्लेटफॉर्म चाहिए। हम बात कर रहे हैं, जब हम स्टोरी टेलिंग की बात करते हैं तो स्टोरी टेलिंग तो बहुत तरह की हो सकती है। हम एक दूसरे से जब बात कर रहे हैं तो वो भी तो हम कोई वाकया सुना रहे हैं, अगर तो वाकया सुनाना जो है वो भी क्या होता है, स्टोरी टेलिंग है, ठीक है। लेकिन अगर आप कह रहे हैं कि रेलिवेंट, आई कैन नॉट read it out in the chat section, Farah, if you can. Yes,
Sorry, ma'am.
yes, I can see that.
Okay.
रिलेटेबल होना जरूरी नहीं है। हाँ, अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल आज हम कोई टॉपिक रखते और हम कोई पैनल रख रहे हैं जैसे कि, और पैनल में हम कह रहे हैं कि आज हम जो है वो जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस को डिस्कस करेंगे, सो ऑब्वियसली वहां पे जो रिलेटेबल स्टोरीज हैं वो करेंगी काम। लेकिन अगर बात यह है कि रिलेटेबल हो, रिलेटेड टू द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ अदर्स, तो ये भी जरूरी नहीं है। अगर आप नरेट करना चाहते हैं अपने पर्सपेक्टिव को, तो फाइंड द स्पेस वेयर यू कैन नरेट द स्टोरी। रिलेटेबल इन दैट केस वेयर वी आर डिस्कसिंग और वेयर वी आर एक्चुअली एड्रेसिंग द सेम इशू। ये मैं इस तरीके से बताऊं, जैसे कि अगर हम जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस की बात करें, जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस का अगर नरेटिव है और हम कोई पैनल कर रहे हैं या हमने कोई सोशल हमारा सर्कल है और हम उसमें डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं, सो ऑब्वियसली इट इज अ वेरी गुड स्पेस टू एक्चुअली नरेट योर ओन एक्सपीरियंस। और ये शेप करेगा आपके माइंड को, क्योंकि जब आप दूसरों के एक्सपीरियंसेस सुन रहे होते हैं तो इट एक्चुअली हेल्प यू मेमोराइज एंड इट हेल्प यू रिकॉल दैट पर्सनल सेम एक्सपीरियंसेस। इवन ट्रॉमा स्टडीज में हमने ये भी एक्सप्लोर किया है दैट पीपल व्हेन रिकॉल दैट पर्टिकुलर ट्रॉमा आर एक्चुअली गोइंग थ्रू द सेम फिजिकल पेन और एस्पेक्ट्स। तो ये चीजें हैं कि रिलेटेबल इन द प्लेस वेयर वी आर, but no, not necessary के relatable in every scenario, because हो सकता है you are the only one who is telling in that space, telling the story, ये भी हो सकता है। I think
Ma'am,
we have running short of time.
well,
Sorry.
yes, we
Yes.
are running short of time, but we have a very interesting question that I really want to address. Whether you want to address it, answer it or not, you
Yes,
can answer it
Raksha
later.
asked. Yes,
But Ramsha has asked that if it's an unending story with no closure.
our stories are unending until we become a story and we will be no more in the world. So our
Yeah.
story is an unending story, and I have two separate documents where I always used to write. One is a spoken and one is unspoken. So there is a document in my laptop which I actually write unspoken stories as well that I never talked about. So there are this is unending. Till we are
Okay.
alive, this is
That
unending.
is a great stance on this question, and I hope everyone is enjoying so far and actually learning. So we as a team are a strong believer that young minds can do wonders if guided to a bigger aim and vision. We have Miss Ajab Shabir from Habib University to showcase her work. She is immensely talented and has the courage to talk about the elephant in the room. Ms. Ajab will showcase her work on menstrual hygiene management entitled as Brown Bag. It's all yours, Ajab.
Hello, everyone. So basically, as Ms. Farah mentioned, that I'm a graduate of Habib University. My interest on menstruation started when me and some of my colleagues were working with young girls, and we came to know that they were following certain myths, such as not eating sour foods during menstruation, not bathing during menstruation, not going near the plants. And there were multiple cultural and religious factors that were shaping their perspective. And menstruation is such a significant process during every female's or during every menstruator's life, that which does not stop during any circumstances. Like, you are going to menstruate if you have your date coming up, right? Be it war, be it moments of happiness, sadness, you are going to menstruate. It is a never it, it, it doesn't stop. And I wanted to further explore the problem in females, like who were, because these young girls were growing into adult females and the cycle was ongoing and the same problems were found. And there are multiple interventions happening, such as their Instagram pages, but panel talks are happening, but it is not accessible to everyone. And I wanted to do something in with which I was comfortable, and camera is something that I'm very comfortable with. So I wanted to make a documentary, and I named my documentary Brown Bag. The reason why I named it Brown Bag was because in Pakistan, um, we have this culture of hiding menstrual products in a brown bag. Be it you buy from a very expensive mart, or be it you buy from a local shop. The procedure is the same. The shopkeeper wants to give you the menstrual product in a brown bag, and females ask themselves, like, they prefer, or anyone, whoever is coming to buy menstrual products for the menstruator, prefers to buy it in a brown bag. And since it is considered a very hush hush topic, a very taboo topic to talk about, I wanted to tap into it and know that what are the experiences, how are these experiences being shaped, and what problems they are facing. And moving forward with my documentary, it was also nominated the UN SDG Action. And yeah, now I would like to play the documentary, and if there are any questions, I'm open to answering them.
Periods.
Menstruation, we used to say long live. Time.
Menses.
लाल परी. Moon days.
वो होता है ना जो लड़कियां पहनती हैं,
वो उधर होजरी की दुकान में मिलेगा।
नहीं वो नहीं, वो टीवी पे आता है ना, इश्तिहार आता है, वो सफेद सफेद फ्री
सैनिटरी पैड।
हाँ सैनिटरी पैड।
धीरे बोलो लेडीज।
वो तो वही लोग तो इस्तेमाल करती हैं। ठीक है, चरस गांजा दे रहे हो आप?
महामारी के बारे में जी पता है?
नहीं, इसके बाद
पता है, बताते हैं।
तो पता है, लेकिन अभी वो
देखिए, महामारी एक बीमारी नहीं है, ये एक औरत का गुजरती निजाम है।
बीमारी तो ये होती है औरतों को, ये अल्लाह पाक ने लिया है। ये बीमारी तो है ना, जब सही आते तो सही होते हैं ना, और कम आ रहे हैं तो बीमारी तो है, दर्द हो रहे हैं।
सीक्रेटली ज़्यादा बेहतर रहेगा, क्योंकि जब दुकान पे भी लेने जाते हैं तो भी हमें छुपा के देते हैं।
हदीस और कुरान की उससे देखें तो ये हमें खुलेआम बात नहीं करनी चाहिए।
मुझे नहीं समझ आती, इस तरह खुली बात करना अच्छी बात नहीं है।
छुपाना तो चाहिए, इज्जत की ज़रूरी है।
ज़रा शर्म की बात होती है, हम लोग औरतें नहीं कर सकते ना इस तरह।
हाँ तो जी बेटा, तो गंदगी है ना, इंसान पलीत हो जाता है।
I hate periods and I don't know, but I just don't want it to happen to me.
आप आज मेरे साथ आओगे? आप आज अपन कहाँ जाएंगे? हिल पार्क जाएंगे?
जब मुझे पहली बार माहवारी हुई थी तो मैं स्कूल के अंदर थी, बिल्कुल एंड का पीरियड चल रहा था और छुट्टी होने वाली थी। तो मुझे ऐसा महसूस हुआ कि कुछ मुझे पेन होने लगा पेट में, और मुझे ऐसा महसूस हुआ कि कोई चीज़ फट के निकली है मेरे अंदर। लेकिन मैंने इतना इशू नहीं किया, क्योंकि मैं उस वक्त स्कूल के अंदर थी, 14 ईयर्स की थी, मेरी इतनी एज भी नहीं थी। तो मैं खेल में ही लगी हुई थी कि अभी छुट्टी होनी है, घर जाना है, वो बस ज़हन चल रहा था। इसके बाद जब मैं स्कूल वैन में बैठी तो मेरी पीछे कमीज़ पूरी गंदी हो गई, मेरी शलवार गंदी हो गई। मुझे महसूस हो रहा था कि कुछ गीला गीला सब निकल रहा है, लेकिन मैंने इतना इग्नोर किया इस चीज़ को, और मैं छुट्टी हुई और निकल गई। इसके बाद मेरे साथ मेरी बड़ी सिस्टर थी वैन में, उनकी भी नज़र नहीं गई, तो वो मेरे साथ चल रही थी। जब हम बिल्कुल लाइक बिल्डिंग के पास खड़े रहे ना, वैन से उतर के, तब मेरी सिस्टर की नज़र पड़ी कि अनम आपको पीरियड्स हो गए और तुम ज़रा अलर्ट होके चलो, तुम्हारी कमीज़ पूरी गंदी हो गई। जब मैंने मुड़ के मेरी कमीज़ देखी तो पूरी ब्लड वाली भरी हुई थी। तब मैं बहुत डर गई कि ये क्या हुआ, मैं घबरा गई। देखो मम्मा कितनी अच्छी लग रही है, देखो हाथ लगाओ, पप्पू करो, मम्मा है ये।
I was 11 years old when I had my periods. तो मुझे सीरियसली ऐसा था कि मैं मस्जिद के अंदर थी एंड इट वाज लाइक कि मुझे लगा कि लिटरली मेरे ट्राउजर पे बीटरूट का निशान लगा हुआ है, बिकॉज वी हैड बीटरूट इन वेजिटेबल्स। सो आई वाज लाइक ऑफ कोर्स वो इतना पर तो नहीं हो सकता, बट बिकॉज आई वाज अ किड इट वाज लाइक कम्प्लीटली न्यू फॉर मी। So I literally thought that वो बीटरूट का निशान है and I was hesitating so much to tell my mom that something is definitely going wrong. और मैं थोड़ी देर तो I locked myself in a hall and I was like bro what's wrong, ये वही है जो मैं सोच रही हूँ, because I already know about it. मेरी friend थी, वो लोग सब पहले हो चुके थे, so I obviously had an idea what is it, but you know your heart doesn't accept it too quick, so it was that for me. I had so many questions with myself. मुझे हो रहा था अब कैसे होगा, क्या होगा, and like most importantly I was so excited कि मैं कल स्कूल जाऊंगी और अपने फ्रेंड्स को बताऊंगी सी अब मेरे साथ ही हो गया है।
It was a shock for me. It was something like everyone was celebrating it and I had no idea. I was feeling like I am bleeding. Something must have happened to me and they are happy about it. And they are not telling me. They are just telling me that do not sit. And for the first time in my life, I got the freedom to not pray. And nobody is asking me to pray. And nobody is asking me to do work. But that's a shock to me. My mother never talked about it. Okay, what are periods? But usually our mothers are very restricted.
जब अम्मी घर पर आई तो अम्मी को पता चला बाजी से कि पीरियड्स हो गए और मैं बिल्कुल लेटी हुई थी स्ट्रेट, क्योंकि फर्स्ट टाइम था, मैं बहुत घबरा गई थी क्योंकि ब्लड निकले ही जा रहा था। तो मैं बहुत ज़्यादा डरी हुई थी और रो भी रही थी। तो अम्मी ने आके समझाया कि बेटा इसमें घबराने वाली बात नहीं है, ये औरत का एक दस्तूर है।
It wasn't like the coolest conversation, it was normal. As in I saw a smile on her face because I think वो mothers का होता है, when they know that your daughter is in this process they get happy of course.
There are physiological changes happening in your body. आपका हार्मोन सडनली पीक्स पर जा रहे हैं, फिर एकदम सडन शिफ्ट हो रहा है डाउनवर्ड्स, तो योर बॉडी इज लिटरली सफरिंग। तो आपका मूड स्विंग्स होना, आपका इरिटेट होना, यू आर फीलिंग पेन, यू फील ब्लोटेड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, एंड आपका बैठना उठना, यू आर फीलिंग ब्रेस्ट टेंडरनेस। तो थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग टू योर बॉडी विच मेक्स यू चिड़चिड़ा एंड थिंग्स लाइक दैट, एंड दिस इज ट्रू।
जैसे दर्द इस तरह से होता है कि मेरे पेट के नीचे वाले हिस्से में बहुत ज़्यादा पेन होता है, मेरे पाँव दर्द होते हैं, मेरी रीढ़ की हड्डी बहुत दर्द होती है, पीछे जो बैक पे हड्डी है ना उसमें मुझे पेन होना शुरू हो जाता है, दर्द होता है। बस पीरियड्स के अंदर ये बहुत पेन होता है और मेरे पाँव की एड़ियाँ बहुत दुखती हैं। मेरी फीलिंग्स बहुत वो अजीब सी हो गई थी, चिड़चिड़ाहट, चीखना, गुस्सा करना, ये सब हो गया था।
Can I say it's a nightmare? I mean, it's a legit nightmare for me. You know, it's like when I know the thought कि अब महीना ख़त्म होने वाला है and it's gonna come, तो वो मुझे एंजाइटी तब से हो जाती है। अभी भी मेरी सर्च हिस्ट्री में वही होता है, how to overcome cramps. Trust me, every time.
So basically, अभी तक, like we cannot say that these myths are prevalent in rural communities only. Even the most educated society have these kind of myths.
Myths होते हैं and people are living with it, you know. Myths become reality जब आप उनको इतना strongly believe करते हैं ना।
So the most common ones that I've come across till date are you're not supposed to take shower, you're not supposed to exercise, you can't have khatta, maybe you can't have dairy products, you can't have egg, you know, इस तरह की चीज़ें. नहाना क्यों नहीं चाहिए? Because it can stop your flow, you can gain weight. मतलब our body is not sponge कि वो water retain कर लेगा, सही है. So इस तरह की myths जो हैं they are very much prevalent. Some in rural communities are they don't walk near the pickle. They avoid making pickle at that time because वो उनका ख्याल में ख़राब हो जाता है. Some of them are not supposed to see the mirror. That is also there. So, I mean, obviously there are different set of myths in rural and urban communities, but we can't say that, okay, urban communities, educated society में जो है वो myths exist नहीं करती हैं. It exists everywhere.
पहले तो अम्मी मना करती थी कि बेटा अभी नहीं नहाना है 7 डेज तक. जब मुझे बहुत फर्स्ट टाइम स्टार्टिंग में आए थे तो कुछ महीनों तक 7 डेज तक मैं नहीं नहाती थी अम्मी के कहने पर. इसके बाद अम्मी ने फिर कहा कि नहीं अब आप थोड़ा ये कि 5 डेज़ में 6 डेज़ में अगर कम हो जाते तो आप नहा लो, नहीं तो ये भी मुश्किल है. कहते हैं वो एक 7 डेज़ के अंदर हम नहा लेते हैं, पीरियड्स आ रहे हैं और नहा लेते हैं तो कोई जिस्म की ऐसी नस होती है जो कमर के साथ अटैच होती है वो दब जाती है जिसकी वजह से बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती है. तो पहले इस तरह नहीं नहाते, लेकिन अब पीरियड्स 3 डेज़ में रुक जाते हैं ना तो अब नहा लेते हैं.
मैं hot showers लेती हूँ, that helps. Or not on your head, just for your stomach. Okay, the hot water should be for your stomach. वो कहते हैं कि you shouldn't take bath. And there is a scientific reason. When you put water on your head, or cold water, if I'm not wrong, I don't know, but if you put water on your head, तो आपके अंदर की कोई vein होती है which stops the blood flow, and that's right.
In my teens, my mother asked me not to touch the pickle, otherwise you will spoil it. And out of curiosity, one day I just touched it and nothing happened.
पैड को अफोर्ड कर सकते हो? नहीं, पैड हम बहुत मुश्किल से अफोर्डेबल हैं, लेकिन ये है कि बहुत कभी कभी थोड़ा एहतियात से यूज़ करते हैं तो चल जाते हैं, नहीं तो ज़्यादातर मैं कपड़ा ही यूज़ करती हूँ. पैड इतना अफोर्डेबल नहीं करती. पैड्स को मैंने कभी इम्पोर्टेंस नहीं दी.
Underserved societies, they prefer, they basically like to prefer the essential items procurement compared to their sanitary napkins, और वो उसका इस तरह से adjust करते हैं कि instead of getting a whole entire pack for their cycle, they keep it for special occasions. But otherwise, they use cotton or cloth to make it affordable for them.
I think from 14 to 19 or 20, I use butterfly के pads, ठीक है. उसके बाद I have recently, 1 साल almost कह सकते हैं, I have been starting using menstrual cup. It was a struggle to do things with it, but now I have the whole grip of it and I'm expert.
बस आप 2 मिनट रुकेंगे, मैं अंदर से 2 मिनट सामान लेके आ रही हूँ.
350 वाले दूध. एक पीस 12 पीस लिखे हैं. एक ही पीस देंगे आप मुझे. 350 वाले दे दीजिए और ज़रा शॉपर डबल कर दीजिएगा भाई. नहीं, ये छुप कर ही आए तो ज़्यादा बेहतर है, क्योंकि लोग आजकल का जो माहौल चल रहा है जिस हिसाब से ये चीज़ें छुप कर ही आनी चाहिए. इसकी वजह ये है कि ये चीज़ देखिए नेचुरल है, औरत के साथ ये है, लेकिन इसको हम छुपाते हैं कि कोई जेंट्स ना देखे, कोई गैर मर्द ना देखे. वैसे तो आम रूटीन में सब लोगों को पता है इस चीज़ का, लेकिन हम इस चीज़ को थोड़ा पर्दे में रखें तो ज़्यादा अच्छा है. औरत जैसे पर्दे में रही जाती है, इस तरह औरत की हर चीज़ पर्दे में ही रहनी चाहिए. तो इस तरह मेरे हिसाब से ये चीज़ें ब्लैक शॉपर में, ब्राउन शॉपर में आप छुपा के लाओ. घर में कोई ऐसा अफराद ना देख ले, कोई बच्चे ना देख ले, कोई जेंट्स ना देख ले, जिसकी वजह से हमें ये चीज़ थोड़ा सा सेफ्टी करके रखनी पड़ती है और लानी पड़ती है.
इसकी वजह तो यही है कि ये जो है ना ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है कि हर कोई देखे इस चीज़ को, क्योंकि ये एक पर्सनल वो होता है कि अब इंसान जो है ना अपने मतलब ये चीज़ें जो है ना वो छुपाता है कि ये घर का एक अलग पर्सनल मसला होता है। तो किसी को इस चीज़ का पता नहीं होना चाहिए कि ये चीज़ घर में ये हो रही है, तो इसलिए वो उसको पैक करके छुपा के ले जाता है ताकि ये किसी को पता ना चले।
लोग क्या आपसे सामने से मांगते हैं कि इसको आप हमें ऐसे पैक करके दो, छुपा के दो?
बिल्कुल मांगते हैं।
हम लोग जो है ना बाद दफ़ा कागज़ के शॉपर में भी पैक करके दे देते हैं, और जिस तरह ये छोटी 8 पीस वाले होते हैं हम इसको जो है ना नॉर्मल हमारे जो बिल आते हैं ना बड़े, तो उनमें भी रैप करके दे देते हैं कस्टमर को।
In Pakistan, you can buy it, but obviously it is wrapped in paper और black shopper में दिया जाएगा so that nobody could see it. उसका काउंटर भी अलग होता है, अगर आप उसे वो फीमेल काउंटर से ले रहे हैं तो वो लोग वहीं पे बिलिंग करके भी दे देंगे. That is a practice also. But this is our culture.
ले एक औरत रही है खुलेआम, बिना डरे बिना झिझके कि नहीं ये चीज़ नेचुरल है, कोई छुपाने वाली बात नहीं है. किसी के घर में पर्दा है, किसी के घर में नहीं, वो तो ले रही है, लेकिन वो जेंट्स उसको देख रहे हो, सामने कोई औरत खड़ी हुई है ना, वो शर्मिंदा हो रही है कि ये औरत खुलेआम ले रही है. उसकी वजह से जेंट्स सब औरत को गलत है.
I used to buy my pets from any mart or any store. We used to go for the grocery thing, so I used to buy it from there. They used to put it in a brown paper and thing, so it was comfortable for me to buy it from there. I'm okay if it's wrapped in a brown bag. I think it's fine, at least for the people who doesn't want to showcase those things. And if that is me, so I think it's fine for me.
लेडीज़ भी होंगी या जेंट्स भी होगा तो सही फील नहीं करते कि आपने ओपन क्यों दिया है. ऐसा कोई बोलता तो नहीं है, लेकिन हमें भी अच्छा नहीं लगता इसको बगैर उस रैपर के देना.
अगर हम वाइट थैली में देंगे दुनिया देखेगी, जाहिर की बात है दुनिया बातें करेगी, तो इसलिए ब्राउन चोपर में मतलब किसी को नहीं होता ना क्या है इसमें.
In your opinion, how have females made peace with menstruation?
It's become habitual. We don't need to make peace with it. You have to get used to it, and it's never peaceful. You can never be ready for it.
I have not made any peace with my menstruation till date. Till date, I can say, or you can say that if things might vary. When I bought a menstrual cup, it's better than what I used to have.
सुकून तो इतना ख़ास नहीं है, मतलब हम कह नहीं सकते कि ये पीरियड्स हो रहे हैं तो मुझे सुकून है, लेकिन पीरियड्स नहीं होना वो भी बहुत सुकून है.
It could be that if I get no cramps, I can make my peace with it. But for now, no, it's not a peaceful process. It's a very hurtful process, at least for me.
For me, normalizing periods is that let them have their time.
If we talk about our society, I don't know why they think so bad about this. I don't understand. उनको लगता है कि भाई वो औरत ही पूरी नापाक हो जाती है in this process.
हमारे बाल से लेके पाँव का नाखून तक नापाक होता है.
ऐसा environment हमें create करना होगा, comfortable environment for everyone, जिसमें वो अपने problems को न सिर्फ address कर सकें बल्कि उसके solutions को भी ढूंढ सकें. और इसमें सबसे अच्छा रोल जो है वो फैमिली मेम्बर्स प्ले कर सकते हैं, स्पेशली वुमेन जो इस सब से गुजर चुकी हैं. दे शुड टीच देयर न्यूअर जनरेशन अबाउट इट, हाउ टू डील विद इट, एंड विद अ पॉजिटिव पर्सपेक्टिव के दिस इज अ नॉर्मल थिंग, इट इज़ अ नेचुरल प्रोसेस, इट विल हैपन एवरी मंथ एंड यू नीड टू बी प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट. That is a real work, Ajab. Thank you so much for showcasing your work here. And we have some questions for you on our YouTube channel. And the one that I want to ask, and you have just a minute and or a half to address it, is that what are the main reasons that you encounter during this whole process? For example, ये ब्राउन बैग का कल्चर जो हम लोग प्रमोट कर रहे हैं या जो प्रमोट हो रहा है, उसमें सबसे बड़ा मोटिवेटिंग या ट्रिगरिंग फैक्टर क्या है?
Okay, so basically, as we are talking about multiple stories, it was my own story that when I got my period, I was scared. I thought that it is a curse on me from Allah because I'm not praying namaz. So I was really scared, and I was like, I promised myself that I'm going to pray namaz every single day, 5 times a day, and so for like this was the first thing that came into my mind when I think about menstruation, my own story. And then this culture of hiding pads, it's because whenever I used to go and buy pads, my mother used to write it on a piece of paper, and then I used to give it to the shopkeeper, and then he used to give me like pads in a brown bag. And then the moment I used to enter the house, because obviously there are different times, the multiple family rush into my room, hide the menstrual pad inside my burqa again, and then keep it into my cupboard. So I think, but with time, as I started to grow up, I felt like why I should hide it. It's a very normal and a natural process, and since because pads were being hidden, I was not questioning certain things because I myself was practicing not bathing during the first 3 days. And that was disgusting to me myself because I mean, like, I just hated it. But because I had this myth in my mind that my flow will stop. So I was practicing that myth myself. So I just felt like that this is like, it's not right because even coming at a university stage, doing that project with my colleagues on young girls, at that was the moment when multiple myths of mine were bursted. So at quite a very late stage, I
That
would
is
say things
actually a
changed for me
story
as well.
that we all share, and this is the similar experience. I don't know from for how many more generations we are going to experience that. But thank you so much for joining us, showcasing your work, and we're looking forward to have your work showcasing the next day also, inshallah. Stay tuned with us for the rest of the session. With
Thank you
that,
so much.
I really want to, I completely agree with Dr. Sadaf Ahmed's point that we have ended stories. And talking about stories, we have Ms. Madiha Naz with us. Ms. Madiha Naz is doing her BS in English Literature and Linguistics. Ms. Naz is the founder of First Women Football Academy in Thatta, known as the Al Mehran Girls Academy District Thatta. She is a youth ambassador of Pakistan and represented Pakistan in FIFA World Cup Qatar as a first woman representative of Pakistan, Wonder Girl of Pakistan 2023. She works for women empowerment and youth development in Thatta, and she is passionate about promoting gender equality and empowering the youth. We heartedly welcome you, Ms. Madiha Naz. We are all ears to you.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you so much for giving me this honor, and I was really feel too much excited and feel so happy in front of the amazing women. And I heard each and everything about this meeting, and it was really amazing. It was really learningful for me because I was also doing work with the women. It was really necessary to learn, and it was necessary to me
Madiha, I'm
understand these
sorry to
things.
interrupt, but can you switch on, if you're comfortable, can you switch on your camera?
Actually, I'm out of the home and I'm in the travel. That's why, but I will try and just get it.
Okay. Sure, carry on. Sorry.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Sayyida Farabatul, for introduction. I'm Madiha Naz. I'm basically from District Thatta. District Thatta is the conservative area of Sindh. It was like a village area. The women of district Tata is confined in the boundaries. They don't have access to go outside their homes, and they don't have education. I am I think the one of the luckiest girl from my district. My father is also a sportsman, and I was choosing a sports just because of freedom. Sports, I believe the sports changed my life completely, and sports is giving me freedom. So whenever I was start my work in 2014, when I was also a player of football, uh, I faced so many challenges, so many things, so many problems in my own district because here is no acceptance of women sports. Here is no acceptance of education, girls' education. So here is very hard papers like. No one understand the level of women's, the level of education of women, the sports level of women's. So whenever I start my academy, the people are harass us, people are abuse us. They said stop your work, don't do this kind of works, please. And it was the first initiative we taken. We are playing with the boys, and it was like a bomb blasting news for everyone that girls playing football with the boys, it was not a suitable for culture, it was not suitable for the religious. That was completely wrong, and they call my father, they call our parents to please take your girls. And it was really a non-serious attitude from the society. But in 2018, I was nominated for the FIFA ambassador of Pakistan because I was launching a first women academy in Sindh, and then this academy lead by the women's, and this academy is completely registered with the FIFA. So that's why the FIFA giving me a chance to highlight my story in the World Cup. So when I was selected for the Youth Ambassador of Pakistan, I was starting work for the women empowerment through sports because I believe that sports change your life. Sports giving you freedom. Sports giving you mental, physical health, and I totally agree with these things. So that's why I start a campaign for the women sports. And whenever I start, we just have 5 girls. We are 5 women, and we are working in our ground with the boys. But when I launch academy, I have a 150 women. They playing football, and they also selecting for the national and international leagues. So it was really a great achievement for us because here is really no concept of a sports, and sport is a waste of time. People are thinking about that sport, girls sports. No one watching the girls sports, no one interested in a girls sports. Girls don't need the girls and physical education because girls are confined in the bodies. It's good, girls are doing house activities, so they don't need to go outside. But we break the barriers, and we do this. And now I have one academy who is completely registered with the FIFA, and it was the first woman academy of Sindh. It was a completely registered with the FIFA after the band, and FIFA is giving us a chance to highlight the Pakistan women's journey. And in 2022 World Cup, I was representing Pakistan, Pakistani women, the representation of Pakistani women. What is the Pakistani woman, and what situation Pakistani women face in their homes, in their out of homes. So this was a little bit story of mine, but I think the 15 minutes is not enough for me because it was a journey of 11 years, and continuously we are working for this, and now we are working for the uh, especially the domestic violences, and we are working especially for the child marriages because we have a 3 and 4 cases of our own academy that the girls are don't want to marry, but the parents is forcing to marry with the person, and that they just have a 17 and 16 ages. So also we are giving lectures and trainings about the domestic violences and the child marriages and the women empowerment, because we believe that we are empowered now. Our mission is to empower others and empower the women. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Madiha. Your story indeed is inspiring, and we have with us Ms. Sana Yasir. Ma'am, if you would like to say a few words about it.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. I've been listening. I'm sorry, my camera was off because I was commuting to my office. I'm very grateful that you guys are getting together and having these talks initiated. Your stories matter. I completely agree with Dr. Shesha Sayed, one of my mentors, then Dr. Serene, and I also heard Sadaf, and I completely agreed with each one of them. Something I will talk about tomorrow as well, because Madiha's story, or even Ajab sharing, the documentary, everything comes to leading us towards the way forward. Like I said, if you're going to keep looking at the past, we're not going to look at the future. We will not be able to design the future. I'll be here sharing something tomorrow, inshallah, early in the morning, I think after 10. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and good luck to everybody. Please focus on your story. Your story makes you a hero. So you can easily get out of the victim mode. It takes practice. It's easy for me because I've been practicing it a lot, and I'll help you with that tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sana, and thank you so much, Madiha, for your story. It was really inspiring. And with that, we will take a short break of 5 minutes, and then our next keynote speaker will join us, Dr. Muiz Khan. Stay tuned with us. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. And without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Muiz Khan. He is affiliated with University of Karachi. And sir, the stage is yours.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, sir.
Ji, how are you? I'm really sorry for the delay I have caused you. There was some
No problem.
internet issue. These things do happen over here. So my talk today is indifferent approach towards women in professional environment in Pakistan. Well, we have a wide audience over here in terms of like belonging to Pakistan and other places of the country or of the world. The world is changing towards their approach towards the women in terms of working environment. We need to understand the fact that the world was male dominated for over like since the dawn of the civilization, and women were not being accepted, or not, they did not have any role to play. They were not allowed to play any role in terms of professional category, and in terms of working towards for the family. So the movement which has started for the last 100 years, there is still a lot of ground to cover, a lot of distance to cover before we reach equality. And the thing is that we have become so subservient towards the idea of women not being the main, let's say, bread earner for the family. We have ignored many things which women deserve, and we do not even realize that how they are not we are not treating them equal in terms of the professional environment, the things which which the men are getting and women are not getting. My talk today is related to the stories of very many women over here in Pakistan, especially in universities. I will talk about universities and higher education institutions in Pakistan who do not treat the women equally. And we have become so, what do you say, acquainted with this idea that we don't even challenge them. Even women have not raised voice towards this injustice and this inequality. For example, I'll just give you an example of this fact that obviously, since the higher education institutions in Pakistan, since the independence of Pakistan, women have been employed as teachers and lecturers from the very beginning. However, they were not treated equally. They were not given equal opportunities, and they were not given equal rights in terms of the job. What do you say? Job benefits which the men were getting. One simple example was that for males, for all the male faculty members, I'm talking about teachers. I'm not talking about the administrative staff. I'm talking about the teachers. All the male faculty members were allowed by the university rules and the government rules to include their parents, their spouse, and their children in their medical facility books, and they can enroll their parents in that. However, women who were doing the equal job with the equal amount of the work and the labor the males are doing, and the tasks they're performing, and all the promotion criteria were the same. However, women were not allowed by law, by the acts of the universities, to enroll their parents as their dependents for their medical facilities provided by the university for their for employees. This is completely out of the question that why the university or the laws of the country had even allowed that. I don't understand. The reason they used to say, the reason they used to tell that if the women, the female member, the faculty member, if she is not married and she is living with the parents, so she have to give the proof that she is not married, and there is no other male member of her family who is taking responsibility of the medical, medical bills of the parents. Only then they will allow on a under conditional basis. I can't understand this injustice. My my argument was very simple, and actually hope and it's a very good thing that we have been able to change it in University of Karachi, at least for the last 3-4 years, that all the female members have equal right for the medical facilities being enjoyed by the male faculty altogether. So what we used to say, so what we have done in University of Karachi, at least for the last 5 years, that all the female members are completely have the legitimate right to enroll their parents, and nobody is going to ask them the question, "Ji, do you have another family member? For example, do you have your brother or brothers who are taking care of the parents or not?" The simple idea which when we started this movement over here in University of Karachi, we said that the the criteria of getting the employment is same for the male and the female faculty. The workload is same for the male and female faculty. There is no difference over there. The promotion criteria is exactly same for the male and female faculty. The length of the service is exactly same for the male and female faculty. The job, sorry, the payment which we receive as a salary is exactly same for the male and female faculty. Then why this injustice in terms of getting the benefits out of the job, the other benefits? So this is completely, and I don't know, okay, did this exist in, and I do know that this exists in many government departments across Pakistan, but I am not sure about the world. That do they treat their, female or women over there in terms of professional environment in the same way? Secondly, the thing which we need to understand over here in Pakistan is completely different, the social setup. I think that it is still just injustice in terms of considering the society we live in Pakistan. However, I don't have the solution for it, but I do believe that it is not. It is this need to be something done over there for this purpose. For example, over here in Pakistan, in our social setup, I'm not talking about the international social setup. We are talking about the Pakistani social setup. In the Pakistani social setup, our women are struggling to keep the pace, and they have much more family and the social and the professional workload compared to the male members of the society in terms of in terms of this service in the university. For example, the criteria which they have to meet with exactly same, which is the same, which is exactly the same for both male and female over here in Pakistan. For in terms of higher education, for example, they need to have a degree, let's say master's or MPhil degree or a PhD degree to enter into the teaching field. That is the same for the male, and they need to have some papers being published in particular category of journals for being promoted to become associate professor and all these things. However, we do not consider one thing: the social responsibilities of male in our society and the social responsibilities of our women in our society. The work is completely different. I know, one of my colleagues, one of my classmates, I'll give you an example because we are talking about the stories of this conference themes is about the stories and the injustices women face. One of my who did masters along with me, she got her service over there in University of Jamshoro, Houston University Jamshoro in near Hyderabad, and she resides over here in Karachi. She goes every day from Karachi to Hyderabad in the morning in bus. She performs her duties over there as a teacher. She comes back somewhere around 5 or 6 back to Karachi And when she come back in Karachi, she is expected to prepare everyday meal before doing any rest for the family for the evening dinner. And before she goes in the morning, she has to do all the work for the family and prepare the children for school. With this kind of a family pressure and a family responsibilities, how can you expect her to do her PhD on time, her MPhil on time, and her research on time, and submit all the things and compete with the men who has no such responsibilities back at home? When a man usually in our social setup comes back to home, he is completely, he has free time, it's a leisure time. When a female faculty comes back to our home, that is not leisure time. That is more responsibility to be fulfilled before she gets any kind of rest. And we are not talking about the social set. This is the regular and the regular household. We are not talking about the difficult households, the psychological pressure they have to face in terms of, like, family intrigues and all these things which usually happen in our society. We're not talking about that part right now. The psychological pressure of our women face in terms of they go through. So, considering all these psychological issues, all these responsibilities back at home, all this, equal kind of, which sounds equal, but I think that is injustice in terms of this particular thing that they have to. And another thing, I in terms of, like, I'm talking about my experience and my observance and my research over here in Karachi University. Dr. Sadaf is probably here somewhere. So she would. We have so many, our faculty members, female faculty members in University of Karachi, which is, with the number of them is almost like 350 to 400 female faculty members over here. Most of them, when they enter into service, they are married and they are with children. And obviously they are with, when they start at young age, about 25, 26 as a lecturer, they usually have one or two children with them to take care. And obviously it becomes very difficult for them to do all these things in the same, which is equal society, which I'm said, equal environment, but it's not equal because of the all these things. And what they do, they come over here, they ask. And you'll be surprised to know that in University of Karachi, the first daycare center for the female faculty members and their children was constructed, and which was officially inaugurated in 2012. Not before that. University existed since 1951, and we struggled. We made efforts to make a daycare center for working women over here. It was such a difficult. I can't imagine, having having on the back of mind that your child is some for my office. So my colleagues were very, caring, and they used to take care of my little child. I never believed in, personally, I do not believe in sending this little child to daycare center. I can't do that. So I used to take her to my office, and she was with me when my wife is taking classes in MSc mathematics. And my other colleagues, when I used to go to the for the class, they used to take the care of the child. So it was so difficult for us, and so many other women, for the almost like 60 years, friends, the University of Karachi, they did not have any such facilities over here. So these are the unequal things which we have to cater, which we have to convince our institutions, our decision makers, our policy makers, in terms of Aisha, Mariam, please, if you can turn the moderator, if you can turn her mic to mute. Moderator.
Sir,
Okay.
we are running out of time. And
Okay. I'm just
scheduled,
concluding. So these are the different findings and observation which we have, which I had to, present in terms of this in this conference and according to the theme. And these are the different approaches we need to reach out towards the policy makers and make them realize that these things may sound equal to you, but they are actually in different approaches towards the women in working environment. Thank you.
That is real good, great work, sir. But we have few questions for you. Unfortunately, we just have time for one question. We have two questions. First is for gender-based stereotypes. Second is for policies. So just tell me which one you are more leaning towards answering. Okay, I'll ask on my own. If there are there gender
Sayyida, I can't hear you properly. The connection is breaking down. Please, can you write it down on the chat? Yes, thank you. Oh my God. Where did it go? Second. They do actually, I have personally interviewed people, my colleagues, who have told me, and whenever our female go to the interviews, I have talked to many of my colleagues and my friends and my students as well. So one stereotype is that, Kiji, how many children do you have? How far do you live? So these are the questions which actually are kind of, targeted towards the idea that she might not be able to give us that much time, and professionally she would not be that much committed because she is involved in her family that much. And obviously these kind of preconceived notions, rather than going to the skills and the skill set she has and the professional training she has, they go for the would you be able to. And I have met people, I have met HR people and decision making people who literally say that, yeah, it is better to hire a male for this job rather than this particular thing and that particular thing, where women are equally in the market in terms of professional environment. However, they do not prefer women because of these stereotypes. So this does affect, and in private universities as well, it does affect them. Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Mays, for your presence. We had great time so far. It is the time as we are celebrating story. What better way to, have another amazing tale by Ms. Fizza Abbas. Ms. Fizza Abbas Rabbani is a best of the net nominated writer, freelance journalist, guest lecturer, and a published poet. Currently working as an editor-in-chief for a Canadian startup. She has bylines in major national and international publications such as Dawn, News International, Nation, Express Tribune, Array India, Feminism in India, London Grip, and Beltway Poetry Quarterly, to name a few. Her poems have been published in over 100 international journals, featured in university workshops, taught in schools, and selected for many awards. She has also been a finalist for Oxford Brookes International Poetry Competition 2021 and appeared in multiple podcasts for Radio Pakistan, Sindh Police FM 88.6 and Gila Members Community Radio 89.1. She has authored 2 books, Bakho and Ul Jalul, which have been selected from a pool of over 100 entries in a poetry chapbook competition, and had the opportunity to interview several notable celebrities and cover many high-profile events. In August 2022, she participated with Poetry X Hunger to host a successful fundraising poetry open mic, contributing over 1,000 USD to NGOs working towards eliminating hunger globally. Currently, she is working on a project for UN Women Pakistan. Fizza, I cannot tell you how proud I am by reading this. She is a great friend of mine, and I'm honored that you are here. We are all ears to hear your story.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, you're audible.
ओके सबसे पहले बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मुझे बुलाने का, और बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया उन सब लोगों का जो इस तरह की कॉन्फ्रेंसेस ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं और खवातीन को मौका देते हैं कि हम अपनी बात बता सकें। बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हमें मौके मिले और हमें एक हमारी स्टोरीज भी कोई सेलिब्रेट करे। सबसे पहले तो कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस टू द ऑर्गेनाइजर्स टू ऑर्गेनाइज सच एन अमेजिंग इवेंट। So should I start with my story?
Yes, please.
Okay. अगर मैं अपनी बात करूं तो मेरा ताल्लुक कराची से है। मेरी पैदाइश कराची में हुई, एक ऐसे घराने में हुई जहाँ पे मैंने खवातीन को हर काम करते हुए देखा, राइट फ्रॉम इलेक्ट्रिशियन के काम, प्लम्बिंग के काम, स्कूल चलाना। My amma used to run a very small school at nearby our home, and वहाँ पे आधे बच्चे फ्री पढ़ रहे होते थे और आधे बच्चे जो होते थे वो उनकी फी जो होती थी वो डिडक्टेड उस पे होती थी। और अम्मा ने जो एक लॉ जलाई, उससे ना सिर्फ वो लोग जो कि उनके स्कूल के अंदर पढ़ रहे थे, बल्कि घर पे भी जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं हम सब उससे हमने मुनव्वर होने की कोशिश जरूर की। अम्मा का स्कूल जो था वो मेरी जिंदगी के अंदर उसकी एक बहुत अहमियत रही है, क्योंकि अम्मा ने ना उस स्कूल से ना सिर्फ अपने इर्द गिर्द में जो बच्चे पढ़ रहे थे उनको तालीम दी, बल्कि वो चीज़ वो घर पर भी हमारे लिए लेकर आई और हमें भी उन्होंने उससे रुशनास कराने की कोशिश की। मेरे अब्बा की डेथ बहुत जल्दी हो गई थी। मैं 4-5 साल की थी। मुझे इस वक्त बहुत ज़्यादा मेरी उनके साथ मेमोरीज भी नहीं है। तो अम्मा ने सारा जो हमारा फाइनेंशियल सारा कुछ था वो अम्मा ने सारा कुछ मैनेज किया। मेरा जो ताल्लुक था वो एक उर्दू एनवायरनमेंट में मैं पली बड़ी हूँ, जहाँ पे बच्चे लिंकिन पार्क और बाकी सबके गाने सुन रहे होते थे। वहाँ पे मेरे घर में रफ़ी, लता, लूना, लैला, इन सब की आवाज़ें गूंज रही होती। मुझे उसकी वजह से कुछ लैंग्वेज बैरियर्स भी हुए, क्योंकि जाहिर है मेरी अंग्रेजी इतनी अच्छी नहीं थी कि मुझे जो है वो उस तरह मैं बोल पाती जैसे इर्द गिर्द में मेरे बच्चे बोल रहे होते थे। तो उसके लिए अम्मा ने मेरा स्कूल चेंज कराया, और वहाँ पे जब मैं स्कूल में मैं सीए मॉडल स्कूल से जब मैं बहरिया कॉलेज कारसास में गई, तो वो ना सिर्फ मेरे लिए मतलब एक ऐसी जगह थी कि मुझे लग रहा था मेरे ख्वाबों की नगरी है, बिकॉज इट वॉज सो डिफरेंट। वहाँ पे मुझे कल्चर शॉक सबसे पहले तो लगा कि मैं कहाँ आ गई हूँ, मगर आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके मैं स्कूल में एडजस्ट होना शुरू किया। उस स्कूल के अंदर हमारे कुछ क्लब्स होते थे जहाँ पे हमें कहा जाता था, हमारी हर थर्सडे को एक क्लास होती थी। तो एक क्लब था उसके अंदर राइट ऑन करके, और राइट ऑन जो था वो अफिलिएटेड था ह्यूमन राइट्स एजुकेशन प्रोग्राम से। तो राइट ऑन के अंदर उन्होंने कैंपेन स्टार्ट किया था स्मॉल आर्म्स के ऊपर, कि आप स्मॉल आर्म्स से बच्चों को कहा कि आप पोएम्स लिखें। तो मेरे लिए कोई मतलब बहुत मुख्तलिफ चीज़ थी, मैंने कभी जिंदगी में पोएम नहीं लिखी। एंड जब मुझे कहा गया तो मैंने तो अपनी ट्यूशन टीचर को कहा कि आप लिख दें, बिकॉज आई टुक इट एज अ होमवर्क के जैसे कोई स्कूल का काम होता है। जब वो कलेक्ट करने के लिए आ रहे थे उस टाइम पे मेरे बैग में मैंने पता नहीं कौन से खाने के अंदर वो अपनी नज़म रखी थी कि वो मुझे पेज ही ना मिल के दिया। फिर मैंने उसी वक्त कॉपी से पेज फाड़ा और उसी वक्त जो मुझे समझ आया स्मॉल आर्म्स के बारे में वो मैंने लिख दिया। एंड उस पोएम को उन्होंने इतना अप्रिशिएट किया कि आई वाज वन ऑफ द 10 स्टूडेंट्स जिसको कि उन्होंने उस चीज़ के ऊपर सर्टिफिकेट दिया। उससे थोड़ी सी मेरी हिम्मत बढ़ी। मगर क्योंकि उस टाइम पे कॉन्स्टेंटली, क्योंकि एक तो मेरा जिस क्लास से ताल्लुक था और वहां पे जिस क्लास के बच्चे आ रहे थे वो एक अलग ही लेवल का एक मसला होता था वहां पे। उनसे उनको उनके साथ फेस करना, उनके साथ पढ़ना और फिर ये सारे ताने टशने भी बर्दाश्त करना और खुद भी वो चीज घर तक भी ना लेकर आना, खुद भी बर्दाश्त करना ताकि अम्मा को फील ना हो कि मैं अपनी बेटी को किसी ऐसे स्कूल में पढ़ा रही हूँ जहाँ पे शायद उसको कोई प्रॉब्लम हो जाए। वहां पे मैंने बुलिंग फेस की, आई गॉट मोलेस्टेड एज वेल बाय अ फ्यू पीपल अराउंड मी, काफी एक फ्रीक्वेंट रहा। उस दौरान में मैं क्योंकि इतना एक परेशानी एक उस आलम से गुजर रही थी कि मुझे मेनिंजाइटिस डिटेक्ट हुआ एंड आई वाज अबाउट टू गो इन अ कोमा। एंड डॉक्टर ने मेरी अम्मा को कहा था कि शी जस्ट हैज 10 months, अगर वो उसमें सरवाइव कर जाती है तो ठीक है, अदरवाइज हम कुछ कह नहीं सकते। उन 10 मंथ से पहले अल्लाह का शुक्र है मैंने 6 months में अपना रिकवर कर लिया। और उसके बाद जब मैंने कदम अपना रखा तो मुझे लगा जैसे कि मैं किसी और ही दुनिया में आ गई हूँ, या मतलब मुझे समझ ही नहीं आया क्योंकि सब कुछ मुझे ऐसा लगा मुझे स्क्रैच से स्टार्ट करना पड़ रहा है, कुछ भी याद नहीं था, ऐसा लग रहा था जैसे मैं एक नई इंसान हूँ। उसी टाइम पे मुझे पता चला कि अबाउट माय अडॉप्शन, दैट आई वाज अडॉप्टेड एंड आई डिड नॉट नो दैट अर्लियर। तो वो एक वहां से जो मेरा एक मेरी सिकनेस एंड द फैक्ट दैट आई केम टू नो अबाउट where I really am from, and I call myself an ED baby. And a lot of my friends, say that to me now. तो उस टाइम पे जब मुझे उन सब चीजों का पता चला तो मैंने अपने आप को रीबिल्ड करना शुरू किया कि मुझे होता था कि यार अम्मा ने मेरे ऊपर इतने पैसे खर्च किए, मुझे किसी ना किसी तरह से अम्मा को उनकी काइंडनेस के लिए रीपे करना है। और उस टाइम पे समझ नहीं आता था कि क्या करूं, तो मैंने अपना फ्रीलांसिंग से शुरू किया। फ्रीलांसिंग से जब शुरू किया तो उस टाइम पे ये भी था कि मुझे हेडफोन्स लेने थे और मेरे पास पैसे नहीं थे, अम्मा को कह नहीं सकती थी क्योंकि वही था कि मुझे अम्मा के लिए कुछ करना है। तो उस टाइम पे ये था कि मैंने दो चीजें की, एक तो मैंने आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करके अपने आप को थोड़ा फ्रीलांसिंग सिखाई ताकि मैं काम कर सकूं, थोड़े पैसे अर्न कर सकूं और अपने हेडफोन्स ले सकूं। और दूसरी बात ये कि मैंने एक पोइट्री कंपटीशन था जो आयरलैंड का एक पेज था उन्होंने ऑर्गेनाइज किया था, तो उसमें मैंने पार्टिसिपेट किया एंड आई वन दैट कॉम्पिटिशन एंड आई गॉट $100 फ्रॉम दैट। और उस टाइम की करेंसी के हिसाब से 10,000 रुपये बनते थे, तो मैंने सबसे पहले लाके अम्मा को दे दिए एंड आई थॉट कि यार मैंने कुछ नहीं तो अम्मा को थोड़े तो पैसे कमा के लाके दे दिए। उस टाइम पे यही सारी चीजें चल रही थी, तो मुझे मैं पढ़ भी रही थी उस टाइम पे एंड आई वाज अ टॉपर। बट सिचुएशन कुछ ऐसी हुई कि आई हैड टू ड्रॉप आउट बिकॉज मुझे ये वाली चीज हो गई, मेरे सारे 8th grade के लोग दे हैड स्टार्टेड अर्निंग। तो आई वाज 18 एट दैट टाइम एंड आई वाज लाइक इफ दे आर अर्निंग व्हाई नॉट मी, एंड आल्सो बिकॉज आई वांटेड टू अर्न ताकि मैं अपने एजुकेशनल एक्सपेंसेस खुद पे कर सकूं। बट सो एट दैट टाइम आई ड्रॉप्ड आउट एंड स्टार्टेड डूइंग जॉब। मैंने कई जगह पे जॉब्स की और एक वो मेरा एक डिफरेंट किस्म का करियर ट्रेजेक्ट्री वहां से चला। हर तरह की जिस तरह की राइटिंग से रिलेटेड जॉब्स मिलती थी, छोटे छोटे गिग्स होते थे, फाइवर हो गया, या इसके अलावा फेसबुक ग्रुप्स पे जब लोग फेसबुक पे चैट्स कर रहे होते, सारी चीजें कर रहे होते, मैं फेसबुक ग्रुप्स पे बैठ के जॉब ढूंढ रही होती थी, कुछ ना कुछ मिल जाता था और आई यूज्ड टू वर्क लाइक दैट। फिर आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग एट जमीन सब्सिडरी कॉल्ड बायो एंड वहां पे मैंने 4 साल काम किया और वहां पे मैंने काम बहुत सीखा और मतलब हर तरह का काम किया। आई वाज टोल्ड के लाइक मेरे बल्कि वहां पे मजाक उड़ता था कि मतलब ये तो सारे ऑफिस का ही काम किसी दिन कर लेगी बैठ के, बिकॉज आई यूज्ड टू आस्क फॉर टास्क कि नहीं मुझे ये भी करना है, मुझे वो भी करना है, एंड लाइक मेरे मैनेजर्स मुझसे परेशान होते थे कि तुम्हें क्या क्या करने को देते। तो इट वाज रियली लाइक दैट। मैंने वहां पे 4 साल काम किया एज एन आई रिजाइंड एज सीनियर कंटेंट स्पेशलिस्ट। उस दौरान के अंदर मैंने कुछ अपना पोइट्री के जो काम था वो मैंने अपना बाहर इंटरनेशनल जर्नल्स में भी भेजना शुरू किया, जस्ट टू टेस्ट के मुझे हमेशा होता था कि मुझे किसी ने सिखाया नहीं है तो मैं अपना काम कैसे असेस कर सकती। तो मैं इंटरनेशनल जर्नल्स में अपना काम भेजती, कई जगह पे मेरा काम एक्सेप्ट हुआ। और जब मुझे मेरी पहली पोइट्री एक्सेप्टेंस मिली थी दैट वाज लाइक फ्रॉम आई ऑन लाइव जर्नल, और वो अब तक मेरे पास संभाल के वो मैंने पोएम रखी हुई है कि लाइक दैट वाज माय फर्स्ट एक्सेप्टेंस। उसके बाद कुछ टाइम गुजरा, फिर आई मेट माय हस्बैंड वकास through a poetry slam and I came to know that he's also adopted like me and he also had a similar journey. So I would like, why not, be together? So we got married, and then, once I started settling in my married life, my mom passed away and I was once alone again, alone, and I had nobody with me but my husband, and I did not know what to do because it was so sudden कि मुझे समझ नहीं आया। मैं उस टाइम से काफी पहले तक मेरा डिप्रेशन का एक फेज चल रहा था along with all this, and then वहां पे मेरा बहुत बुरा PTSD ट्रिगर हुआ एंड आई वाज लाइक व्हाट्स रियली हैपनिंग, मुझे कुछ नहीं समझ आया। तो वहां पे मेरे हस्बैंड ने मेरी हेल्प करने के लिए मुझे गोल दिया कि ये तुम्हारे साल का गोल है और तुमने अपना काम 50 जर्नल्स में पब्लिश करा है इंटरनेशनल। तो मुझे जब मैंने वो गोल लिया था मुझे पता भी नहीं था whether I'll be able to do it or not, but खैर I pursued it and by the end of the year I had got publications in over 72 journals and my two chapbooks got accepted for publication. I had won a competition and even उसी साल के अंदर पेन स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटी एक अपना वर्कशॉप करा रही थी रिगार्डिंग हंगर एंड मैंने उससे एक सिमिलर पोएम लिखी थी, दे टुक दैट एंड वो उन्होंने यूनिवर्सिटी के वर्कशॉप में दे टॉट इट टू देयर स्टूडेंट्स. So it was like a very, very big movement for me. And then eventually I kept pursuing poetry and then I got nominated for Best of the Net and Oxford Brooks का जो competition है I was also one of the finalists of the competition. And मैंने फिर fundraising शुरू की पोइट्री एक्स हंगर के साथ ही मैंने एक अपना उनके साथ कोलैबोरेट करके we generated around $1,000 एंड वो सिर्फ लोकल मतलब पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी और पाकिस्तान के बाहर भी जितनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन इस कॉज पे काम कर रही थी वी हेल्प देम. उसके साथ साथ मेरा जिंदगी का मकसद नहीं था सिर्फ पोइट्री या राइटिंग इस तरह से नहीं था. आई ऑल्सो वांटेड टू बिकम अ जर्नलिस्ट बट मेरे पास तो कोई जर्नलिज्म की डिग्री तो मैं क्या करती. तो व्हाट आई डिड वाज कि मैं अपना पिचेस लिखती थी. अच्छा तब मुझे पता भी नहीं होता था कि पिचेस लिखते हैं तो वो एक्सेप्ट होती हैं. आई सिंपली सेंड देम माय स्टोरी. गॉट इतने रिजेक्शन के मतलब हद नहीं है. मेरे अभी भी ईमेल के अंदर 20 रिजेक्शन होते हैं अबाउट पोएम्स एंड देन स्टोरीज जो मैं भेज रही होती. मैंने मुझे 11 साल लगे टू गेट माय वर्क पब्लिश्ड इन डॉन, 3 साल लगे टू गेट माय वर्क पब्लिश्ड इन एक्सप्रेस. But eventually they published my stories and I started writing about things that I am passionate about. तो स्टार्ट इस तरीके से हुआ था कि पहले मैंने रिव्यूज लिखे एंड देन मूवीज के रिव्यूज हो गए या मैंने जो ट्रेंडिंग उस टाइम पे चीजें हो रही थी उनके बारे में मैं बात करती. बट और वो सारी चीजें लोग शेयर भी कर रहे होते थे लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ प्रोड्यूसर यूज्ड टू शेयर एंड सारा कुछ होता था. बट आई वाज लाइक दीज आर नॉट द स्टोरीज दैट आई वांट टू टॉक अबाउट. व्हाई एम आई स्टिल इनहिबिटिंग माई सेल्फ फ्रॉम टेलिंग द स्टोरी. तो मैंने फिर उसके बाद उन स्टोरीज पे काम करना शुरू किया एंड देन आई डिड अ स्टोरी ऑन रेप एंड दैट वाज शेयर्ड बाय द फ्रेंड ऑफ मोटरवे रेप सर्वाइवर एंड also the lawyer who was working for the ban of that drama हादसा जिसके बारे में मैंने बात की थी और जिसके बारे में मैंने अपने सारे पॉइंट्स रेज किए थे. उसके बाद I was called for lectures as well. I was called to cover a lot of events regarding women's issues and a lot of things. I recently went to mass comm department for a speaking session. It was a motivational session regarding how we can empower women to be more positive, to have a more positive outlook on their lives. I got also invited on Radio Pakistan and FM 88.91 and a lot of things like that. So
that is so great, Fiza, to hear your journey, and it is so inspiring. And I cannot imagine ending this day of this conference without having your poems be heard. So I know it's a language of souls and I am very bad at it. So I really want you to, showcase your work, a few of your poems to, it will be the perfect ending to this day.
Sure. So how much time do we have? मैं अपनी कितनी poems पढ़ सकती हूँ?
To be precise, we have 15 minutes.
Okay, then I'll just read. So I want to read a poem that's called The Unburned Toast. It got published on 8 platforms, including Stone of Madness Press. So I want to read that. The Unburned Toast. A pale brown woman with unkempt tresses walks along the pavement, the asphalt and concrete cracked with age, a barren thoroughfare of desires, a road to hell in the making. Her black eyes look around, the remnants of a half-eaten apple look tempting. She hides it secretly inside her cleavage, a feeble attempt at a brutal revenge. Those once altruistic soldiers become mannequins. My poor Pakistani mother in a slum who has feelings, who has rage. They say, have patience. You will get the aid you deserve. Don't they know the toast has burned and the jam? Thank you.
That is really good. Fiza, I know you have much work. We have time if you can showcase another one.
Sure. So this another poem of mine. ये मैंने अपनी जर्नी के बारे में लिखी थी क्योंकि since I'm a non-native writer, तो मुझे हमेशा मेरा एक inferiority complex हमेशा kick in कर रहा होता था जब मैं लिख रही होती थी कि मुझे मतलब अंग्रेजी नहीं आती और मतलब मुझे एक inferior feel होता था, तो मैंने अपनी inferiority complex पे एक poem लिखी थी. I just want to read that. The title is How Inferiority Complex Talks to a Writer Whose Mother Tongue is Urdu. I wake up at 7 a.m., sleep again for 2 hours, get up at 9 a.m. to finally work. Open my laptop, remind myself, no big deal. It's a day after all, it will pass. Boss sends a message. Could you please take care of this? I agree. I can do it. I find online tools to work. My own toolkit is empty. Poor at English, bad at using Grammarly. I juggle with the task at hand like a clown and send it over after an hour. Boss calls me a nutcase. I feel a buzzing in my veins. I slam my laptop shut. Take a shower to wash off anxiety and settle on my sofa for the evening. I flip pages after pages of a book, learn 4 new words, forget 2 before I browse through the dictionary. The meaning is there, written in bold letters, but the context seems too hazy. I refill my fountain pen, open my tattered notebook and write, I can do it. But the can scatters across the page and I wipe it off with clumsy fingers. I look at them with a wondering sadness, soaked in blue, ruined perhaps forever. Then stamp the residues of my affirmations on the entire page in anger. I begin on a fresh page, a non-native writer pretending. My mind and echo chamber echoes the subtle voices of my inferiority complex. I imagine her as a woman in a wedding gown lying in a coffin, shrieking so loudly I fear those nearby may hear, and call a priest perhaps to exorcise the demon out of me. Calming her incessant shrieks of, English poetry is not for you. You are only meant for writing in Urdu. Get moving with Alif, Be, Pe. ABCs are for people with brains. Don't waste time learning rhyme and meter. You are too dumb to understand them. Ballads, sonnets, and limericks only perch on virtuous minds. They will stare at your ignorance in disbelief. Don't let pastorals or ghazals lure you to the pen. The beauty of flowers and passionate love will not make a poet out of you. Metaphors will always remain invisible ghosts beyond your grace. Similes are mirrors that will not hold your reflection. For a moment, I shudder at the truth of this voice, her honest concern, full of seductive charm, laced with venomous hatred. I want to believe her. She cares for me. She wants to spare me the embarrassment of becoming who I think I can be. But as a strong gush of wind passes through the window and the page, speckled with small dots of ink from my suspended pen, stares at me with dread, I realize this is what I'm meant to do. Save words from the wrath of my inferiority. Thank you.
Fiza, I am not saying anything, but there are so many comments for you. First, that I really want to read. Very inspiring, really good. And Falak Bakar said, Miss Fiza, I am so inspired by your story. You are truly a blessing from Allah for your family and this society. So hats off to you. I truly believe that. And with that particular note, I think we can learn from all the stories, and we can all relate to the stories that we've heard so far. Every story has a piece of us in it. So thank you so much, everyone, to be a part of this day. I hope to, have you all again. Tomorrow we have another day for this conference, and many unheard tales are waiting for you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And this is the end of the conference. Thank you.